Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next to the Narrow. But I'll be hood forever. I'm the new Sinatra. And since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere. I used to cop in Harlem. All of my Dominicanos right there up on Broadway. Pulled me back to that McDonald's. Took it to my stash spot, 560 State Street. Catch me in the kitchen like a Simmons whipping pastry. Cruising down A Street, off-white Lexus. Driving so slow, but BK is from Texas. Me, I'm out that Bed-Stuy, home of that boy Biggie. Now I live on Billboard, and I brought my boys with me. Say what up to Tata, still sipping my top. Sitting courtside, Knicks and Nets give me high five. Nigga, I be spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
Welcome, YellBro. I am Jordan, and today we're going to listen to a little debate between Nick Fuentes, Sippy Cup Nick, and Dinesh D'Souza. Whatever, I got no nickname for him. Locker Room Dinesh, let's call him that. Locker Room Double D. Moderated by Alex Jones. But before I get started, don't forget to share support. Hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Check them out, read them, share them, then donate. All of it is much, much appreciated. All right, so the topic at hand here, at least what the headline said, is Israel-Iran, which, you know, if you've been watching this channel, we've been covering a decent amount of stuff in regards to that. And, I mean, I can assume what Nick Fuentes' position is, and I can assume what Dinesh D'Souza is, and we've actually heard Alex Jones' position, which is he's got nothing for us, does he? One day, Iran has 9 nukes ready. The next day, they don't have them yet, and now Trump's going to stop them from getting a nuke by bombing their facilities. But it was a one-off. It was a plan to trick the deep state into thinking that he'd go into all-out war, but really he wasn't. It was just a troll the whole time. It was a play. It was 9D chess. So, just throwing all that out there. Nick Fuentes is surely arguing against Israel. Probably even more so than, you know, being against war. Just Israel's bad, and I assume D'Souza is going to favor Israel, as we've heard him before. I've heard him on Tim Pool talking about Israel and the weird dick riding thing that happens in regards to that. That's like typical neocon stuff. That is to be expected, but you know what? Anything can happen. So let's strap in, pause, and enjoy the show. Here we go. Here's InfoWars' Alex Jones hosting a debate between Nick Fuentes and Dinesh D'Souza. Here we go. Go.
Central Standard Time. I am your embattled host, Alex Jones, coming to you from deep in the heart of Texas, broadcasting
on the
worldwide
road
this
again.
evening. And we are about to host a 2-hour uncensored,
2 fucking hours.
Unfiltered,
the fuck?
Real debate. Not where there's a whole bunch of canned questions, not where it's a bunch of corporate shills up there controlling the narrative, but where 2 very intelligent, at the same time, very different people from their perspective have a real debate. They can go 3 hours if they won't. We're scheduled.
I wish I could do that. Just
but
compare myself to
when we
the
get
worst
into the
forms
next
of
hour,
anything
we'll take
and
questions.
say how good
We're
I
gonna
am.
post very soon up on X above the live feed of this, so we can get some of those questions in from X and have your questions.
Actually, I kind of do that.
I have a few questions for later. I imagine those will already probably be answered on both of their own.
Folks, I don't know if I'm making it the whole 2 hours,
So Dinesh
to
D'Souza,
be honest with you.
I've known him for 20 years.
I just want to hear enough.
People call in.
Saw speeches he gave when he worked for Ronald Reagan as a cabinet
I don't know.
official, best-selling author, filmmaker, former political prisoner, a true American success story. DineshD'Souza.com, on X at Dinesh D'Souza. Host
Look at that
D'Souza
fucking banner.
Podcast.
What a weirdo.
And then the 26-year-old
He did jail
phenomenon.
time
I've known who
for
this guy
Trump,
is for
so it makes sense.
9 years. Exploded on the scene during the
Alex.
2016 campaign. Nick Fuentes.
This is the guy that made the frogs gay.
At Nick J. Fuentes, NicholasJFuentes.com. And he's very proud of his commoner roots, which I am as well. But he's Nicholas
Christ is
Fuentes
king.
said this is a college dropout from Chicago.
Christ wants borders.
26,
He wants America first.
Trump 2016 and host a nightly show
He wants
called America
infinite
First
sippy cups.
that is reaching tens of millions
Build
of
your
people.
favorite apple juice.
Conservatively, so
Christ
both men
is king.
are very different ways.
I don't know if he's
obviously,
graduated
in general,
to a
are
sippy cup
obviously
yet.
both very articulate and very popular.
I mean,
And so we're not going to have classic debate standards here, but I want to give each person a 5-minute opening statement here tonight. And I should also add, I mean, you can see the promos and everything, why you're here. We're having a debate about the Iran-Israel war/crisis, AIPAC, lobbies, the mullahs, sleeper cells, the fatwa, unprecedented issued by the number 3 mullah, calling for Donald Trump, whose death, and basically death for anybody that supports them. They admittedly have big sleeper cells. I mean, this is a declaration of war. It's got.
I love how Alex pretends to be understanding of an agenda and that he's so against these wars.
Selling?
Exactly. But he just. Well, then again, Candace Owens just told us that she has pull in U.S. foreign policy and apparently French foreign policy as well. And no one's stopped to question that at all. So maybe when Alex blatantly sells a reason to attack Iran over and over and over again, and then says, well, I didn't say go to war with them. Somehow people don't pick up on that shit. Fuck my life.
Very little coverage. I think Trump's trying to ignore it, hoping it's just a threat.
Like, we're fucking stupid, bro.
This is off to the races, so I'm going to flip.
Humans are dumb as fuck.
Silver coin.
They're right.
To decide.
What was that?
I said, and they know that we're stupid, and they're right. That's why they get away with all this shit. That's like, I had the realization recently, and I'm just kind of like, damn. Not that I didn't know, but like, I didn't realize how dumb and like how they know that. And they're not wrong.
You gotta throw out little testers here and there, little some testers and see if they fall for it. Like, wow, okay, they're really dumb. Okay, we can get away with this now. Let's try this one out. And it's like, I made a video, like before I hit play on this video. I made a video before we went to war with Iran, and I was like people, please, I beg you, do not all of a sudden call him some sort of peacemaking, Gandhi, MLK, Jesus character because he doesn't go to full-blown war with Iran. Like, he's done all the work to get up to war with Iran, and that means dead people in between all those things. All those actions, people are dying across the world. People are being subverted in our own country with free speech and all that. Tremendous harms have been done all over the fucking planet. And just because he doesn't go to all-out war with Iran, like, oh my God, Trump is a savior. He saved us. He's doing peace. He's a peace president. And that's exactly what fucking happened. When people are all like getting angry and agitated, like, yo, fuck this guy. He lied to us. This isn't the guy that we voted for. All he did was bomb. He actually literally bombed Iran. And then said, all right, that's it. One and done. Like, oh my God, he didn't even hurt anyone. He is a peace president. No new wars. I'm like, holy shit, you people are fucking brainwashed. Full-scale brainwashed. And I call that motherfuckers like this, these guys that are leading people, in my opinion, devil-worshipping practices. I'm not saying they're devil worshippers, but this fucking guy is, in my opinion. This guy is involved in some weird-ass shit, in my humble opinion, in regards to U.S. politics.
He's something.
He's
an agent of some sort, not like a Fed agent, but like an actual like chaos magician of some sort.
Like trying to guide people in a direction, like clear as day doing it. Doing it to where no matter what situation, if Trump gets caught with raping 50 kids, somehow Alex will have an excuse of how that's possible and why it's okay. Seemingly. And it's like, Jesus Christ, people, wake the fuck up. But, and again, I mean, like, I have no platform, so no one's going to listen to me. But even King conspiracy guy, David Icke, no one's listening to him. Like, David, just shut up already. Leave him alone. Alex is trying his best. At least he's better than Biden. Like, this is what David Icke's probably hearing. He's like, what the fuck is going on? My God. Anyways, let's roll on with this quote
No,
unquote
I mean,
debate.
I genuinely think that he's there to like disrupt critical thinking and like authentic like curiosity. Like he's there to like gatekeep that
Oh yeah.
and like keep like it's really gross actually. It's like a deep problem.
Oh yeah. I mean, deception artist would be the shallowest thing you could probably call David, or not David, Alex Jones. That'd be like the
Yeah.
lowest form. There's more adjectives you can use. But all right, here we go. Here's more, or here's a debate, I guess.
Who is going to have the first?
Jordan, why do you repeat these
5
things
minutes
10,
here?
20,
So I'll
30
just
different
say
fucking
Dinesh
times in 30 different
D'Souza's
videos?
heads,
Because
Rick
motherfuckers
Fuentes'
keep
tails.
going for it. That's why. Fuck.
Here we go. And it is Dinesh D'Souza. All right, so we will go now to Dinesh D'Souza.
Believe it or not, there are people I
And
talk
in
to where I
his
feel no
first
need to
5
say anything
minutes,
like
it
that
will
to
go
them.
right to Nick Fuentes.
Because I feel like they
And
already
after that,
get it.
You probably won't hear from me for almost 30, 45 minutes. I'm going to try to shut up and have a real debate. There's nothing more frustrating than these debates where there's constant interruption. So, Dinesh, thanks for accepting this debate. And I'm glad it happened, glad it got done. Thank you so much. You've got the floor for the next 5 minutes.
Thank you, Alex. Welcome, Nick. I am looking forward to our debate, and you know, it's I'm thrilled to do it because free speech has been under attack, and you guys,
I'm
Alex,
triggered.
Nick, Laura Loomer, and others have been deplatformed. I am
Laura
a
Loomer. Oh
strong
my God.
opponent
The
of
dumbest
all of
of them
this.
all.
And for this reason, even though some people were like, why do you want to debate Nick Fuentes? I'm like, no, there
'Cause
are
he's a
taboo
celebrity?
issues here that are being raised. They're not being adequately discussed. Some people run away from them. I don't run away from them. And I think it's a good idea to sort of have it out.
You'd run from
and
me.
So
I
that's
almost promised
really
you that
why
one,
I'm
bud.
here. I want to defend Trump. I want to defend MAGA. Make America great again. I want to defend America first.
What?
That-
That's the goal?
We have a big
That makes no
disagreement here
sense,
about
right?
what America first means. And that's what I want to talk about.
What are you reading
When we talk
from?
about making America great again,
Aren't you
it's
supposed to
important think
say
about
what you like?
made
Just your honest
America
opinions,
great
not
in
about
the first place.
picking
One
a side
obvious
before you
answer
even
to that
start
is that
debating.
America became great by kind of looking inward and attending to its own problems, going back to the founders. But that is not only not entirely true, it's not true at all.
So that's why Alex
Right
picked
after the
him.
American founding, Thomas Jefferson found out that there were these Barbary pirates in the Middle East. Now, they weren't attacking America.
Bruh.
They weren't starting a war over here.
This is Dubster's
So
argument.
Jefferson basically dispatched an armed force
We've been at war with them
to
for
clobber them, to beat the heck out of
500
them.
years.
Why? Because they were disrupting our interests. They were disrupting our trade. They were
Disrupting
hurting our
trade.
position in the world. So even though we had this infant democracy,
So it's
clobbering bad
what is it,
guys
genetic or
something
something?
that
What's he
we
saying?
started doing from the very beginning. Now, fast forward to, you know, Alex, you and I are in Texas. And
Our
let's
interests?
talk about the middle of the
I'd say
19th
no.
century. Again, America's building a strong country. It's focused inward. But guess what? We get into a big war with Mexico. The Mexican War lasts about 4 years. We started. The
I'm calling
Mexican
this
War.
filibustering
We
already.
go over there,
Like,
get our troops into Mexico City, clobber the Mexicans, take a good chunk of Mexico, including a good chunk of Texas.
I don't like when they say
Israel,
that.
Iran.
That we're not part of America. Become
Israel,
added to the country.
Iran.
And we do this basically by.
Are we gonna?
Now we have good
He's
reasons
getting to that.
for it.
He's
I'm
going to
not
be
gonna
like,
go
this
into
is
the
why when
reasons,
Israel
but
does
the
it,
point
like
is
this
we
is
did
something
it.
that we've always done. Why are you
Fast
against it when
forward
Israel
now,
does
I'm
it?
gonna
I can already
omit
smell
World
it.
War II and focus on Reagan. The Soviet Empire is gaining strength. The Soviet Union grabs 9 countries, 10 countries actually, between 1974 and 1980. They don't attack us. They're not waging war over here. And
Does he
Reagan
say
does not
anything?
start a war
All
with
I've heard
them
him say
either.
is he's
But
pro-Mexican.
what he does do is he starts clobbering them in all kinds of ways. He clobbers them in Afghanistan. He clobbers them in Somalia, in Angola, in Mozambique, in Nicaragua. And we do it by supporting armed forces that are repelling these Soviet armies, and we win the Cold War. Who can deny that the world is better off and America's better off? That is America first. And that is making America great again. So when we're talking about making America great again, it
We
has
need to
never
crush
meant,
our
and
enemies.
it doesn't mean for Trump, a kind of, isolationism. I would even deny that it means no new wars. And I say that because no president who takes an oath to support the Constitution can make that absolute guarantee. There are all kinds of scenarios, and I'm
It's not
happy
even
to
the
lay
case
out
for
about
him,
6 of
but
them,
whatever.
in which the United States would be drawn into a war. And so the pledge is made
Drawn
as a
in.
statement of principle, but Trump
It
is
just
the
happened.
commander in chief,
Yeah.
and it's his decision to make at a given time when the situation is dangerous enough
Who
that there should be a
questioned him?
war. Now, there isn't a war going on in Iran.
What have you done?
But
What
I
have
do
you
want to say about the Iranians this. They are not a regional power like Iraq. This is, I think, one of the key differences.
What?
A lot of people think Iran is Iraq, and Saddam Hussein is the same as the mullahs, and Trump is the same as Bush.
Who the
He's
fuck is
becoming
saying
like
that?
Bush. No.
I never heard
Iran
anybody say
has a
that.
global ideology,
Well, Trump is
and
like
they always
Bush,
have.
neocon ass.
The reason that they chant death to America, they also chant.
We're saying
death
that
to
there's the
Israel,
same
but death
playbook.
to America is the main
Like they're pulling
chant,
us in the
and
same
death to Israel is the
But they're not
secondary
saying-
chant. Why? Because we are the main enemy. We are the great Satan. Israel may be the little Satan, but we are the great Satan. And we are controlling Israel, not the other way around. At least that's how the Iranians see it. The little Satan is not telling the great Satan what to do. It's actually the opposite. The Iranian goal is a global caliphate that obviously involves global supervision, Sharia law, bringing it here, infiltrating this country, terror cells.
Oh,
and the
shit.
nuclear weapons are just taking this global ideology and giving it
They're bringing it
enormous-
here, and nuclear weapons is the next word.
And can't we tell this guy's been stuffed in lockers his entire life, and he's just, because of his own lack of, lack of self-love, he just takes it out on others. This fucking dweebo. My God. Like, once again, if you bring up actions the U.S. has done in foreign policy across the world, there's no way you can sit there at the very least and say, like, a lot of these things are retaliation or narratives of retaliation. Like, clear as day. Clear as fucking day. Or, let's just make believe and say, oh, okay, Iran started it. Either, like, is that how you're supposed to respond to that? Is this how you act? You do subversions instead of, like, direct honor and be like, yo, here's the case. These motherfuckers do tricks through side doors against other countries, against Iran and other countries, to get their deeds done. Without telling you, by the way, Americans. They don't tell, well, maybe they tell Dinesh. But let's just say on the surface, they don't tell Dinesh. They don't tell Alex that. They don't tell Fuentes. They don't tell us. They just do it. They don't even fucking tell Congress on a lot of these things, right? Foreign policy advisor, like, it's all a fucking secret, apparently. And it's for our interests, guys. Funny enough.
Yeah, I want to say something about that term. When they say it's for our interests, American interests, whatever, I can't accept, like, I just can't accept it, like, in any way. Like, first, they don't say what the hell they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to, like, make your own assumptions. You paint the picture for them. It was like, are they talking about resources? Like, is this about oil? Is this about trade? Is this about, like,
Safety.
yeah, then it starts to twist into, like, well, they're mean to their own people. We have to free them, or, like, what is it? Sharia law. They just all these things. Like, American interest is fighting the boogeyman. So
Yeah.
I cannot accept it if they don't say what the hell they're talking about. I just assume they're basically, like, just working.
These dumb
working,
narratives.
paid or not paid, they're working for the government.
Yeah, these dumb narratives, but they work, apparently, on a lot of people. Once again, even the simple idea that because they don't see 24/7 news coverage of soldiers shooting guns at each other, like, yeah, we're not at war. We're not doing anything. We're minding our own business. That's what people actually think. Because they don't see the actual U.S. soldiers on the ground directly seeing them with 24-hour, camera feeds on them moving around and shooting things and shit like that, or getting shot at. This is how dumbed down we are. Like, it's incredible. And in fact, if you look at this whole thing of, like, oh my god, of the war, like the war on terror, like, oh my god, Sharia law and terrorism and Muslims everywhere and shit like that. the same playbook as that they do with communism, except, along with the whole war on terror, they're also holding up that old narrative about communism as well. Meaning, if it pops up anywhere in the world, it is now a threat to U.S. interests, and we need to regime change them in one form or fashion. Like, straight up, that has been U.S. policy forever, and that is the yesteryears of, like, the 80s, 70s, and 80s, they'd say, communism, right? The communist threat, right? And these dumb fucks will, once again, create an entire imaginary world of, like, oh my God, we'll be in lines, just bread and water is all we'll get, and we'll be subjugated. Our kids will be limited to only having 2 kids only, and all this shit. They create a whole fucking story in their minds just based on random talking points. And now they do that with what? Islam, Sharia law, wherever the fuck, Like, oh my God, all women are gonna have to be wearing hijabs and shit, and every dude's gonna be carrying around AK-47s forever. Like, they have this image in their mind.
I thought they were pro Second Amendment and pro conservative dress. So that's good, right?
No, those are terrorist guns and clothing. So we don't like those.
Okay, so they don't want AK-47. They want AR-15s. My bad.
I mean, to be real with you, if ISIS wanted to, they already did that, didn't they? Like, if they wanted to market change, just start wearing suits and ties instead. America's like, are they bad guys? Just take the fucking Syria guy, and put a fucking suit on him, and say, here, see, look, he's just a world leader, man.
No, just put some khakis on him, a polo, golf hat. It'll be all right.
You see, he changed.
Yeah.
He's a different person now.
Close.
Wow. That doesn't look like Sharia law. Wasn't Assad
like
wearing
freedom to
suits
me.
and ties? Wasn't Assad wearing
like
suits and
freedom.
ties? No. He's more like what's his name from Die Hard? He's like Hans Gruber. He's like that type of terrorist. He's a suit and tie wearing terrorist. Like, look at that mustache.
Is that the Bruce Willis, the Die Hard?
Yeah.
Okay.
With like the German like bad guy or whatever. Hans Gruber. Anyways, all right. Hopefully, like, there's no way, even as dumb as Alex Jones is, and possibly his audience, or a lot of his audience is, there's no way they can just hear this and buy this, right? Well, fuck, because Alex sells this too, right? The mullahs over there.
This doesn't sound that different from Alex's narrative. So.
Islam has been trying to destroy us forever.
Yeah. And he slips it in there in between.
Yeah.
It's not like this where it's like on your laptop camera in your home library. It's more fancy when Alex does it. He's a showman, so.
And actually, funny enough, he was supporting it, taking down the communist regimes in Venezuela. It's like cheering on coup attempts and shit like that. Like a weirdo.
I mean, like, isn't Trump trying to do regime change in New York City already? So, and regime change in Kentucky. So.
We got jihadis in New York.
Yeah.
We got anti-Semites in Kentucky.
Little Muhammad.
All right, let's continue with more propaganda.
No, he was actually questioning. He was questioning today. Sorry, Trump was. He was questioning if Zoran Mandami was actually legally came here and that they were investigating. So.
Can you imagine?
He said, he was like, yeah, we don't know if he's even illegal. We're checking it all out. So.
Testing the waters. He's testing the water. Like, how cunty are people now? Can I get away? Can I just round people up and just drag them out of the country? People are like, yeah. And then I ask Christians, like, what would Jesus? Like, Jesus wouldn't want that, right? They're like, well, this one phrase from Jesus over here means, like, yeah, you could fucking protect your borders. Like, holy fucking shit. What?
Well, we're looking at all of our options, right? So he also, and then in the same press conference today, he also talked about the domestic. This is the second or third time he's talked about it, but like he talked about deporting domestic people. Like
I saw that. Yeah.
So, but he brought that up again today, and he talked about how, we got to get rid of those people who are throwing grannies into the subways, pushing, like in New York City, like pushing them into in front of subways and stuff. And I'm like, like these criminals, they were born here, they've been with us for a long time. Got to get rid of them. And I'm like,
Hitting people in the back of the head with baseball
Yeah,
bats. Let's
like,
get rid of them.
okay.
Send them to El Salvador. Like, bro, if we actually followed, like, let's say we made that a rule. You can deport Americans, and you pick out like, okay, it has to be heinous crimes. If we actually followed
Makes
that
no
to it,
sense.
if we followed that to a T, you'd be gone, my man. Trump would be kicked. Like, yeah, you're getting sent to El Salvador, bro. You have killed untold number of people. Brazenly break rules on purpose. You'd be deported. But once again, fanboys and fangirls don't fucking think. It feels like it's gotten worse.
You know what's crazy? It's like, so the whole like deporting people to different countries thing that they're not even from.
Yeah.
It wasn't even started here. So this actually started in the UK like maybe 4 years ago or so with Priti Patel, who was doing that in Rwanda. So like people who would come to the UK were getting sent to Rwanda as they were processed
Fuck my
for
life.
immigration. Yeah. And this is back in like 2022, 2021. It was so weird. And I even was like asking my dad about it, like, what the hell is this? And he was like, like, looks like trafficking to me. But anyway, so it's just interesting. And now it's like here in America. It's kind of like, It's been a thing. So I guess they tested it out in the UK. But you can look it up. Priti Patel's. Actually, I think I did a video on it like a while ago, but I still probably have the PowerPoint. So I'll find the sources through the PowerPoint. But yeah, it's just really interesting because I'm like, weren't they like just? I guess they were testing it out in the UK. But anyway, side note.
Brainwashing is strong. So let me guess. There's a bunch of Indians screaming, "Get these people out of our country!" I know, because once in this Discord,
they were paying the Rwandan government per like immigrant that they were able to leave there in Rwanda while they what is it called? Like while they were being processed in the UK. So it's like shipping people to different countries.
You guys see? God.
It starts with like, oh no, we're just trying to get out the illegals, right? And then it's like the immigrants, and then now they're trying to strip denaturalize citizens, and like what the hell? Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious that you don't just allow it because it just keeps going. Like the whole point is to strip citizens from their rights. That
I mean, they were thinking that was going to happen. That's the irony of it. These MAGA motherfuckers thought it was going to happen to them with Hillary coming in. Remember the whole deplorables thing? Oh, they're calling us, like, maybe not in the mainstream, but in the conspiracy world. They're calling us deplorables. They want to, like, round us up and get us the fuck out of here. Or whatever, throw us in fucking FEMA camps and all that stuff.
Yep, in the Walmarts.
That was a fucking narrative, dude. And now they fall for it when someone else is like, wait a minute. And sorry, K2C, but I'm mentioning you. There's a reason why you might not see this as much, subs, but these other people, other guys see it. Because when he's here. And I yell at him about artwork all the time. I yell at him about wrestling, about movies, TV shows, video. I yell at him constantly about all this shit. And it's not for just no reason. I mean, it's fun and it's funny, and we both make jokes about it. But still, I'm like, bro, the ability to decipher things is like a dying thing, apparently, on planet Earth. Apparently, to like examine something and decipher what's happening or even attempting to do it. Apparently, it's just a dying thing. How do we know we're at war with Iran? The guy will announce it. If he doesn't announce it, we're not at war with Iran. It's that simple for motherfuckers. I'm like, wait a minute, think about it. Like, what does war actually mean? Does it mean bombing them? Does it mean this, subverting them, espionage? Like, what does it actually mean? Like in practical terms, like the actual like description of it, not definition, but maybe like description of what it would look like. And you look at it like, fuck, we are in a global war. Someone put down a fucking post, like where they showed like it was like 26,000 bombs dropped by Obama, but Trump only 36. And what they meant was the 36 bombs that dropped on Iran's nuclear facility. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's bombed Somalia 39 times this year, alone.
Oh, yeah.
And he has the original record for bombing Somalia, which is like 60-something. Like, he's on pace to break that as far as like amount of bombings in 1 year. He's at 39 already. He's on pace to break his own record for bombing Somalia in a year. Like, this
The
is where we're
serial
at.
strikes.
Yeah. He's bombed Yemen. He's bombed Somalia. He's bombed Iran. He's providing bombs to Israel, who's bombing Lebanon, who's bombing Syria, who's bombing Gaza. Like, oh my fucking God. Just lifted sanctions off of the Syrian guy who's going to continue bombing shit and join the Abraham Accords. While knowing that he was an Al-Qaeda guy. Like, knowing that. Like, said it out loud to everyone. Man, he's a very expensive man. Because he knows there's a $10 million bounty on his fucking head. From the U.S. government. Like, you can't make this shit up. Whatever. All right, let's just continue. Here we go.
There's an old saying that says, what do you say to, what do you call a dictator who has nuclear weapons? And the answer is, sir. What that means is that when a guy gets nukes, he's on a completely different level. You've got to, in a sense, be deferential in a way that you otherwise wouldn't. So here's Iran.
So someone
They
could
are cooking
abuse
these
having
nukes.
nukes.
They are building this uranium. They're enriching it
Like
way
the
beyond
US,
any
you
peaceful
dummy.
purposes. And Trump says, look, it's in our interest that they not have this weapon. Yes, it's
Yeah.
in Israel's interest.
Tell me these pictures aren't on purpose. Him sitting with the president of China, right? Him with a mask on. Like, tell me these aren't on purpose to, like, trigger the audience in a way. Come on,
Literally.
bro.
And he wears a mask. COVID.
He wore a
And
mask.
Alex is
Yeah.
providing these
Wear
pictures,
it.
right?
Sorry.
Alex,
Hmm?
he's the one that's adding the pictures.
His team, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's probably like their B-roll, whatever.
Yeah.
That they just like run through.
That's hilarious. All right, here we go. Sorry for
As
pausing.
well, but we're not doing it for Israel. We're doing it
We're
because
gonna
we
meet with
don't
China.
want them to have a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
China,
That's
Japan.
about 5 minutes. We'll come back to you. You guys
Okay, I
have a
shared
free-for-all
the
in a moment.
link with you.
Nick Fuentes, and something you said today, so I'm just going to add a small caveat and then go back to you guys. Because I meant to say it up front. I appreciate you doing this debate. I appreciate Nick and you guys having this idea. I forget
Now,
who came
I
up with
suspect
it, but
Nick's counters are just going to throw
Nick
the
challenged you,
entire
you said, sure, and then,
topic
here we are 2 weeks later. So
further
thank you both
into
for doing this.
stupidity.
But exactly, what we're doing is what the left,
But for now, he'll look correct
diabolical against
because
free
Israel
speech,
does bad
does
shit.
not want. They don't want real debates, and so this is very, very healthy and very, very.
But once things
pro-freedom,
turn around
pro-America. I
and he's
appreciate
still
you guys
on
for
the
being
same
here. Just wanna
bullshit,
add
he's
that.
going to look like a
Thanks for
fucking
reminding me of
idiot.
this. All right, Nick Fuentes, you've
But
got
people
about
fall for it
5.5,
anyways.
6 minutes because Dinesh
Fuck,
went a little
man.
bit over because I didn't stop it.
Nick's more of an entertainer.
So, Nick Fuentes of America First.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'd like to start out by saying as well, I appreciate Dinesh D'Souza for doing the debate. And I actually appreciate him saying that because it is true. We have both been brutally censored. And I know that Dinesh was also targeted by the Obama administration. So, really
You're
all
so
kind of in the
censored, you
same
made it to
boat in
Kanye
terms
West.
of we've all been persecuted to some extent. So
And you're on
I
the biggest
appreciate him saying
platforms.
that. But I'd like to move on and get into the subject of the
thanks,
debate. And I
Sippy Cup
actually
Nick.
like how Dinesh framed it. I agree with him. The central question concerning the Iran war is, what does America first mean? What is the United States involvement in Iran, or what should it be?
Oh my
And how does that
God.
conform to the stated goal of putting our country
This guy claims
first,
to be
making
Christian.
America great
He claims to
again,
be Christian. He claims to be
and
Christian.
pursuing
Oh, that was
American
dumb.
strategic interest? And without going into the Barbary Wars or Reagan or any of that, we don't need to go back that far. I think we need to talk about the current strategic landscape in the Middle East. And we need to get some things
Wrong
down
strategy.
first analytically before we proceed. And I'm actually going to pick up where Dinesh left off at the end and kind of start with that premise, because that is, I think, the mainstream premise. Let's say that's a status quo accepted premise of the U.S. Media or the conservative media, is that Iran is an apocalyptic regime. They have global ambitions. They're led by religious zealots and fanatics. They're racing towards a bomb because they want to attack Israel and the United States. And I would say that with that analytical framework, you probably would say that it's justified that we go to war with Iran. I would probably agree under those circumstances. But I'll clarify a couple of things. Let's say that in the first place, this is not the first regime that has been described this way. When we were at war with the Soviet Union, it was conservative military planners that said the exact same thing. They said the Soviets are a nihilistic death cult. We can't negotiate with them. Khrushchev said, we will bury them. They want to destroy the United States. Of course, we negotiated with them. Of course, Nixon had détente, and eventually we negotiated with Gorbachev, and the wall came down, and we didn't have to go to war. We said the same thing about Maoist China. They killed 70 million people. They're a communist death cult. We negotiate with them all the time. They joined the World Trade Organization. I don't think anybody would argue that communism is not a nihilistic global ideology with ambitions to take over the planet. It certainly did. It always had.
Right on cue.
Let's also talk about Iran's nuclear program. And once again, let's sort of do some housekeeping. Iran does not have a nuclear bomb. They're not currently pursuing a nuclear bomb.
Is what communism is.
And what you would call Iran is a nuclear threshold state. They're engaging in something, and this is technical, it's called nuclear hedging. This is where you have the technology, the expertise, and the infrastructure to make a nuclear weapon, but you don't actually build one. Why do you maintain the threshold latent nuclear status? You maintain that in the event that the security situation changes. There's a few countries, actually, not just Iran, they're in the exact same boat. And those countries are South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. They're all considered nuclear threshold states. They have the expertise, the infrastructure, the technology to make a bomb. Why do they have that expertise? Why do they maintain the threshold status? Because they're on the doorstep of China. China's a much more powerful country, and they themselves have a native nuclear program. They engage in nuclear hedging in the event that they need to deter a threat from a regional adversary. Does this sound familiar? Why is Iran pursuing nuclear hedging? Why do they have a threshold status? They have this because Israel is the only country in the Middle East, actually, that has an undeclared nuclear weapons program. They have a nuclear arsenal of 200 bombs. They're not a signatory on the NPT. Israel's the only country with a nuclear arsenal, and they're Iran's sworn enemy. Let's also talk about the history. The United States overthrew the government of Iran in 1953. A democratically elected prime minister who wanted to nationalize Iran's resources and put Iran first. He was overthrown by the CIA. The United States installed a brutal dictatorship. The Iranian people revolted against it. Ever since, the United States and Israel have been at war with Iran, and we've destroyed all their neighbors. We went into Iraq and overthrew Saddam Hussein.
Nick, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just said 5 minutes. It could have been 10 minutes. You guys are both smart to talk for hours. So at this point, just let Dinesh come back and counter that.
Timing.
And then you guys this is a real debate. You guys can have a free-for-all. And just, so I'll just pitch it back to this Dinesh. You can leave off where you were stopping there. Nick Fuentes, go ahead.
Yeah, terrific. I mean, Alex, I think you only jump in if we are interrupting too much and can't make our points, or either hogging all the time. And I think otherwise, I'm happy to just go back and forth. I'd like to just address a few of these points, and we can kind of get into it further. So I'll start by kind of correcting a couple of points that I think are just fallacious. The first one is the idea that the Soviet Union was said to be some kind of a maniacal, nihilistic power. No one ever said that. Not only that, but the whole premise of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, was based upon the idea that you have two completely rational adversaries, and each of them understand that the deployment of nuclear weapons, the one against the other, will meet with catastrophic retaliation. Never
He's going to say crazy Muslims.
Like a suicide bomber, or Brezhnev, or Andropov, or
now, if Nick did his homework, all he has to do is bring up Syria. That's all you need.
We knew that they valued their lives.
They all crazy Muslims.
Protecting their own interests. So the idea that there's some kind of a, we've heard all this.
Then why are we supporting this guy in Syria?
Russia and China, that's not true. The idea of negotiating with the Soviet Union was the liberal idea. It was the idea that when you make treaties, people behave themselves. And I think Reagan exposed that to be fundamentally stupid. It misses what human nature is all about. It misses the lessons of Machiavelli and Clausewitz and Sun Tzu. It misses the idea that treaties are simply disguised ways that powerful countries advance their own interests. No one is going to sit down and make a treaty because they want to. You make treaties because you have
empire
to.
Building.
You make treaties by and large in which you concede things that you would have lost.
Why does it make me
anyway
feel like
on
in the back of
battlefield?
this guy's head,
Now let's look at Iran, for example. If it's true,
you're white,
first of all,
Indian.
Mossadegh.
You're white or you're Indian, you're smart. Everyone else is dumb.
Mossadegh was not democratically
crazy.
elected. He was not elected by the Iranian
Jihadis,
people. He was in fact appointed by the
gangbangers.
Shah. Let's remember that the Shah was in power in 1953.
And Nick's not too
so
far
if you
from
have
that,
a dictator
probably.
who's running the country,
Funny
how does
enough.
someone get democratically elected? So I think this is actually taking up a talking point.
It actually
from the left. And a
sounds to me a lot like
also.
Marco Rubio.
By the way, the first thing that Mossadegh did when
Another
he came
locker
in,
room
he dissolved
or
parliament.
locker dweller.
So this democratically elected guy dissolves the very parliament that supposedly put him into power. So he was an autocrat, in some ways no different than the Shah. There was a power struggle. Yes, the CIA was involved,
Use a lot of the
was
same
overthrown. In my view, that was a very
argumentation
good thing.
cadence.
Now, some people will say, well, that's what caused the Iranian Revolution. Wrong. The Mossadegh business was in 1953. The Iranian Revolution was in 1979. Are you telling me that the Iranians were really mad, but they decided to go on a 25-year vacation and then decided, okay, now let's work ourselves up into a
Is
frenzy?
he a fucking
25
idiot?
Years later,
It's like
the
Dean
reason we
Holland
got
takes
Iran
anyway.
is basically because of Jimmy Carter.
So he thinks that the people that didn't like the new government in the 1950s could just spawn guns in their hands and just take over the country all of a sudden from a U.S.-backed fucking like dictator, basically. Is he fucking stupid? Like, no, people fucking plan shit out. They take their time. They try to get all the logistics down, and then they fucking attack.
I think he's stupid.
He knows that. I
Yeah,
think
I
he's just
agree.
playing dumb.
Yeah, he's a propagandist. He knows he is. I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job. Like, man. Like, I want to get in a time machine and be like, hey, man, you can be on my team, on my kickball team. Come on. I can, like, go to, like...
He's not allowed to play kickball.
time travel back to his childhood. Like, hey, man, it's all right. Hey, those guys are going to pick on you. Don't worry about them, man. You can do better. We'll do better in life. Don't worry about them. Let's go play kickball or something. Like, fuck those guys. You know, someone to, like, give him, like, mentor him or something. Like, hey, man, you don't have to be a cunt because other people are cunts. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, there we go. The poor guy.
Jimmy Carter decided that the Shah was a despot. He didn't want to support the secret police. He pulled the Persian rug out from the Shah, and basically we got.
We saw Nick get bullied in college. Let's be honest, we saw him get bullied.
Carter. He tried to get rid of what he saw as the bad guy, and we got the worst guy.
Okay,
and
so
since
Nick,
then we've had a regime.
respond to that, but we're going to jump in a bunch. This is a great debate, but we're kind of doing a history lesson, debating history. Go as long as you guys want. We go 3 hours if you want. I hope we get into the current stuff, the fatwa, Trump saying they may have a peace deal Monday, the Israel lobby, all of that. But I'm going to stop there. Nick, come back. You guys start going back and forth here.
Except they sound like he was naming a Canadian country or something.
Turn it into a big history thing about the Soviet Union communism, but I would say that's simply not true. I mean, it was credible, and this is what the Pentagon believed in the late 60s and early 70s, is that the Soviets
are we going to get to the 60s yet?
A first strike against the United States. The idea that mutually assured destruction was always the law of the land versus revolution and diplomacy because of nukes. It's just belied by doctrine. And during the 60s and 70s, we believed the Soviets were more powerful than us.
I want to fast
nukes
forward.
Than us, and we thought that they were going to strike us first. They thought they could survive it. And the rhetoric about the Soviets was the same. They have this global ambition, domino theory. They want a global revolution. It was exact same stuff that they say about Iran, and yet we never invaded the Soviet Union. We didn't need regime change in the Soviet Union and to go in and decapitate the regime with airstrikes. It just isn't true. We negotiated.
Like, I'm losing viewers.
So I would say that's in the first place. But we don't need to really write the history of the Cold War. In the second place, the Mossadegh. It's really
like,
not here nor there.
Let's get to the current stuff.
The point is this. The United States and Israel pursue regime change across the entire region. That's the point I'm trying to make, and I didn't get to finish in my opening statement. We overthrew Iran's government once, and you admit it's a CIA coup in 1953. In 1979, the people are furious because of the secret police, because of the white revolution, because of the reforms that were made under the Shah. They overthrow the Shah's government, the Western-backed government, because they saw it as a puppet. And the Islamic Revolution enjoyed broad support in Iranian society. What took place ever since then is regime change. One regime change operation after another. Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Egypt, Syria, you name it, whether it's the Arab Spring and it's these soft power color revolution coups or it's ground wars or it's civil wars. That's the business we do. And we do it no matter who it is. We do it against secular dictators. We do it against people that cooperate with us and those that don't. Gaddafi gave up his nuclear weapons in 2003. We backed airstrikes against him anyway in 2011. We backed Saddam at one point. We oversaw the dismantlement of his nuclear program. We went to war against him in 2003. We said we weren't going to war against Assad in Syria. We did. He's now overthrown, and now you have ISIS in power. This is the history of the Middle East.
Now explain that more.
The reason of why Iran wants a nuclear weapon. It's not because they want to kill everybody. It's not because they're fanatical and we can't negotiate and they're trying to bring about the end times and the eschaton. It's because they want to deter the same fate, regime change, would happen to all of their neighbors. That makes them rational.
Okay, let me stop you. I said I won't interrupt you. You guys are both too polite. Every 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to make you pause. That goes back to what Dinesh was just saying earlier. He's like, when North Korea has nukes, we say, sir. which I get that, and I don't want them having nukes. They do, and ballistic missiles hit us. But that then begs the question: if Iran, if it can hedge and maybe have some hidden, then that speaks to why they would want a nuke. I mean, there's a lot to say here, but go ahead.
Yeah, one of the mullahs, right in the middle of all this, one of the key mullahs made a very key admission. He said, "This is not about Iran. This is about Islam." Right there, you get the heart of the matter. These mullahs, and yes, there was a broad-based Iranian revolution, but the mullahs,
What does he mean by that?
Struggle took power.
Of course, you're not going to hear that answer.
Dictatorially over Iran now since 1979. They've made the Iranian revolution semi-permanent. But the key to understanding that revolution, going all the way back from when they seized the American hostages to the strike on Beirut, 1982, to the fact that Iran has been sponsoring terrorism, not just in the region. They have tentacles in Venezuela. They have tentacles in South America.
Nick, that's why you're supposed to explain Syria to this idiot.
They are making an alliance with Russia and China to create a kind of axis of power. So to the degree, Nick, that you're saying that this is, a global chessboard, I agree. And I think that, in a way, puts an interesting question for us, which is that isn't it a fact that there is a jihadi or radical strain of Islam? This ultimately is what is driving a lot of these radical Muslims, right? They are Hezbollah, Hamas. It doesn't matter whether...
Sorry, I have to pause this. This is why Nick should have won the... we ended up going to war with Syria and just moved on, all right? And it's like, well, how did we do that? Because he's saying these guys fund terrorism around the Middle East. Like, well, we fund terrorism around the Middle East. Like, literally. We fund underground groups in fucking Venezuela. Like, historically and in modern times, if you just focus strictly on the Trump administration. But guess what? I think Nick Fuentes does soft protection for Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
So he can't go into certain topics because it makes that guy look bad.
No, he's the parameter that you're allowed to use. Like he's another gatekeeper. He's just another layer.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
So, fuck, man. Like, these guys want to go through, I guess, history lessons and all that shit, but, I say, make it dumb. Not that I think Fuentes is some sort of, hero for righteousness or anything. But I'm saying, if there was someone in that position asking questions to either one of them, to be honest with you, ask the simple, dumb questions and make them answer them. Because those simple little things, these guys get stuck with those questions. Funding terror. Okay. Has anyone else ever done that? Can you name them? What countries? I don't know. Just go very simple. Make it very simple and stupid. And you'll realize all this jargon is just trying to cover up the actual, maybe in-depth story that's there, in my humble opinion. It's just say, and it's when I argue with Dubster. He's like, the law from 1725 that states that, bro, fuck the law. Do you think this is okay or not? Is this okay to do? Is this right to do? Well, technically, Jesus said he said he believed in borders. So, no technicalities. Do you think this is okay? Is this right? Is this wrong? Let's go there, because guess what? As far as what I've seen during political discourse, the debate bro, factoid arguments back and forth, just a bunch of factoids, apparently goes nowhere. And the audience, I don't even think, picks up on the logic of the fucking factoids. They just hear factoids. Man, if you're saying this, doesn't that mean this? They don't do that shit. They don't do calculus, hearing discussions.
No, it's just the information that's just kind of regurgitated in a list. These are the list of infractions. But it never gets connected. It never becomes knowledge. It's just scattered information. You don't get to connect it together and then make it into an actual cohesive this is my base. I've connected the dots.
Exactly.
It's different than just spouting out fucking factoids. Anyone can do that. A parrot can do that.
And it's and with, guess what, the even more scary version of this, which I think a lot of people actually fall into this camp, is that they pick teams already. They already pick a side of who they want to win, and they just repeat those guys' factoids. So not only are they not picking up on any depth within the conversation, or at least looking for it, they're already cutting it in half and only hearing one side, and then they go out on Twitter or with their friends or some shit and repeat the factoids. I'm like, fuck. Like, what does that mean, though? Like, what's the point of that? Like, what do you... Okay, this is happening in the world. What do you think about that? Is there a reason why you that, stuck in your brain?
Yeah.
Fuck.
You could list the factoids. It's fine. It's just like there needs to be some sort of deeper explanation. Like, otherwise it's just in one ear, out the other. Which sometimes I feel like that's what the point is. Because I see Dave Smith doing that. I see a lot of these people listing out historical factoids without like kind of grounding it in some sort of other, like an argument, an actual like deeper argument.
Like tethered to hopefully something like care. Hopefully that's the thing. It's tethered to
some sort of value like that you have that like, this is why it's wrong.
To where if shit breaks down, if Dave Smith's in an argument and shit breaks down, I want him to be able to just yell like, dude, it's fucking wrong, right? It's wrong. This is wrong. This is not right. This is not the way the world's supposed to be. Some shit like that. Like, if all factoids break down, you still have that to go on. These guys, they'll be like, oh, fuck, I lost the debate. I lost. All right, fuck it.
No, instead they're like, oh, it's the fucking... the national debt, like that's like the argument. That's it's wrong. That's equivalent. That's what they scream out. But the Fed, like quantitative easing, whatever. That's what they go back to.
We just added $1 trillion to our debt, man.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
These senseless wars. I hate that term. I absolutely like these wasteful, senseless wars. Makes me sick.
All right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Let's keep it going. There we go.
They're Shia or Sunni. Hamas is Sunni.
Oh, and by the way,
Iran
based on these
funding
guys'
Hamas
prior ideas,
because they don't care
they're not
about those
arguing from right and
distinctions at
wrong.
the end of
They're
the
arguing
day. At the end of the day, they
from
care about
political
whether you're an infidel, yes or no.
standpoints.
This radical Islam is a global ideology. Look, you can say the mullahs keep saying it. I don't believe it, but you should believe it. When the Russians said that they wanted a global triumph of communism, they meant it. We took it seriously. And by the way, we didn't end the Soviet
Dinesh, if
Union
someone
through
does the
some
same
sort of
thing,
a
but not in the
treaty.
name of
We ended
Allah,
the Soviet Union by
is it still bad?
them. Reagan
Or if they
ultimately
say Allah
defeated
before
them
they
in the Cold
blow
War.
someone up,
It was not a treaty.
is it worse?
It was they were out of gas.
You see what I'm saying? Let's make it stupid. Let's get to stupid territory. Let's go ask dumb questions.
What if they say Christ is king?
Warheads on them. We were building a missile shield. We were supporting
some guy with a suicide vest.
Christ is king. That's ultimately Afghanistan became, by their own admission, a bleeding wound. So
well, he was a lone wolf
no
crazy guy.
Secret jihadi. Because of a treaty. The abolished itself. Eastern Europe was freed because we put a piece of paper in front of them and went, oh, okay, let's get rid of all of this stuff. We were once a global empire. We'll now become a second-rate superpower. That's not how it happened at all. And that's a misunderstanding of Iran. Islam is a conquering force. The Muslims came out of the Arabian desert. How do you think they conquered
Let
the
him keep
Holy Land?
talking.
They took Jerusalem. They took Syria. They took Jordan. They conquered Iran by force. That's how they got it. They are the occupier of Iran.
Okay, Dinesh,
because they're a conquering force, we need to conquer them. It's basically his logic.
Aim the shrew. Aim the shrew. That is
smart political people really, most of them can't find around on a map.
We also need Palestine.
I don't want to throw this in. I figured very
what
smart.
a fucking
trying to throw the debate away here, but very smart to get into America versus Iran up front. I was imagining, and I'm not trying to steer this, though I want to spend some time on it, the whole issue of Israel and the Israel lobby and where that sits, because I know that's Nick's bailiwick. And so that's just something I'm throwing out there as well.
Like we're losing views, guys.
I'm not
He's trying to drop
Islamists
some bait.
we've seen regime change. Now the former head of Al Qaeda in charge of Syria. We see Hamas being Israel helped set it up. As a counterbalance. Then we've got Iran. All of this, and so I think a lot of Americans just don't believe the intelligence establishment. Even though I wouldn't cry at night if the mullahs fell. So I mean, what about the AIPAC Israel?
Although I wouldn't cry the night the mullahs fell. Wait, why did you need to add that in there?
Respond actually to what he said.
Sorry, I apologize. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I just want to have equal time. But I mean, with regard to this, there is.
Go ahead, Nick. Tell him what's true.
Forgive me if this sounds I'm trying to be cordial here, but I do believe there is this engine in the United States from the conservative movement that says it is about Islam. You know, this is Glenn Beck's book. This is sort of the Fox News mantra. It is Islam. Islam is the problem. And I'm not an Islamist. I'm a Catholic. I'm not pro-Islam. And I wouldn't even call myself pro-Iran. I'm pro-America. And to sort of narrow the discussion, let's talk
Which is
about
anti-Jesus.
Islamism. Let's talk
Got
about
it.
jihadism. I agree with you. There is an element of jihadism in the Middle East. There are these radical Muslims that they want to return to the faith of the pious ones, the ancient Muslims, the first 2 and 3 generations of Muslims. They come from Saudi Arabia. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Iranian-backed groups do not attack Americans on American soil. They're not global powers. They're local powers. They're regional powers. They don't attack the United States. They may attack the United States in Beirut or Iraq because the United States is in their territory. We're in the Middle East. We're in their neighborhood. We're backing Israel's brutal war on Lebanon in the 80s, where they commit massacres, castrating people, scalping people, brutal atrocities that are well documented that Israel, their own commission blames Ariel Sharon for this, the defense minister. So, they don't attack us on our soil. The terrorists that do attack us are Wahhabist. They're Salafist. That comes from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia spent billions of dollars promoting Wahhabism, which is the ideology of Al-Qaeda, of ISIS. We backed the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. We backed bin Laden. We do arms deals with Saudi Arabia. And you know what? To some extent, this radicalism is going away. And it came from Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, these other places. And it's going away because we made a deal with Mohammed bin Salman. We did arms deals throughout. We're allies throughout, buy oil from them throughout. We didn't invade Saudi Arabia and install a Western liberal democracy. We don't like your regime. We're going to drop bombs on you. We negotiated with them over time. And by the way, they were the biggest problem. As far as Iran is concerned, it's important to analytically determine their strategic interest because that's how you determine what we have to do about it. Israel wants regime change in Iran. That's why Iran wants a bomb to deter this, which is a credible fear. Now, the United States won't let Iran have the bomb. Now, if you want to give Iran the Soviet Union treatment and
I'm not sure that's exactly established that Iran wants a bomb. I think they want to not be fucked with. I think this is what I've heard. Maybe they do want a bomb or something. I guess as a deterrent. But I thought it was just threatening having a bomb, as was what they were doing to deter. So otherwise, they could have just kept going from the 60% enrichment, right? And keep pushing it. But then they realized, like, wait a minute, everyone's subverting us. Right? It was like the IAEA, that was the last registration they have of enrichment for Iran. But then Iran kicked them out because they think their IAEA was giving away locations of scientists and all this shit to adversaries, and that's how these guys are getting assassinated. From what I heard, something I heard. So
that makes sense. But I mean, who knows? They might not. It's like,
yeah.
But it's kind of like they wouldn't be the only ones, and why do you get to dictate who has what? If there's just a lot of layers to it. I wish none of them had it. So.
Yeah, well, it's just the same thing to me as like what's happening with Hamas and Israel, where it's like, well, let's be scientific about it. Let's hold them to, like they say they will go with a ceasefire and release all the hostages. Let's follow through and see if they do it. But that's not what these motherfuckers want.
No.
When Iran's like, all right, we're in the nuclear deal. You can have organizations inspect our facilities and all that stuff. Hold them to it. Hold them to
that's
it.
the Obama. That's fucking Barack Hussein Obama deal. John Kerry.
So it's like
$100 million in a suitcase.
Yeah. So like, once again,
bad deal.
Once again, I don't expect these guys to be the honest people in the world. I'm hoping regular people will wake up from a stupor and like just think a little bit, just a tiny bit. Like, just consider the logic of the scenario. And guess what? It's okay to not know something. Just say you don't know. And behave that way. Like, oh, I don't know. So I'm not going to just leap out and say this or that. Right? You can say, oh, I heard of this, or this is my opinion, or something like that. But,
yeah,
like, you have to consider, like, what if you're wrong? Consider those possibilities. Like, fuck, dude. They just repeat these fucking idiots, and they act on it too. It's not just repeating it; they act on it. like, oh, these guys are like this, so you know what? I'll vote this way, or I'll grab a picket sign and go out and do this, or whatever. And it's just
Yeah.
fucking horrendous. All right, here we go.
Bankrupt them through maximum pressure and sanctions. That's what we were doing. But you're calling for regime change. We didn't do regime change in the Soviet Union.
I'm tired of the
We
regime
allowed them,
change.
and we went in there actually.
term
George
as
Bush
well,
managed it, I think, in a
honestly.
good way.
I've been tired
We
of that.
managed a peaceful transition of power after a long period.
If that's the
of
language they
soft
understand,
power,
I'll
smart
fucking use
power
it.
that we used
You know?
against
No, I'm
That's
saying
You're
really
like the
saying
it.
we
way
would
that
go
they
in and
use it
invade
is
Iran,
annoying.
or
Like,
not
because
maybe
they
invade
limit it to
Iran,
like,
but
oh, these
force them to
wasteless
have
regime change
with
wars. As
CIA
if it's like
operations,
those are the
foreign
like
media,
as
maximum
if that's
pressure
the main
sanctions,
thing. There's a lot of things
backing
happening
Israeli operations. And I
beneath
would say
that.
that's not in America's interest. That's
Agreed.
what Israel wants. That's not what we want. Regime change has a terrible track record from Libya, Egypt, Iraq, Syria. There's zero success stories. I think that
Yeah, you're
I
right.
agree with you in some sense.
I mean, I still use
We
the
don't
word
want a nuclear
when
Iran. We
discussing
need to
it,
understand
or so that
why
people
we're on the
understand what I'm
threshold of
saying.
one, and that has to
But
do
if
with
I could use my
Israel's
true language, I'd be
ambitious and
like,
aggressive actions.
devil worshipping.
In my
Let's
opinion,
call
the
it
move
spreading
is
malice across the
restrain
world.
Israel. Stop them from
It's just-
attacking Iran. Get
But
Iran
it's like
to come
it's
back to
something
the
that
table.
Tulsi Gabbard
try to
kind of
get them to agree
introduced
to
into
some.
like the ether in terms of talking about in that way.
Yeah.
So it's just I just find it interesting because it's specifically that. It's not like all the other like, you know, the airstrikes and the covert like psychological operation stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. And
just
even
like focus on this one element, which is like fine, focus on that, but then it's like that becomes a thing, and that's like the cutting off point. Like, oh, you can do all these other things because that's just like business as usual, but like the regime change wars, once they start doing that, like that's your cutoff.
yeah.
It's weird. Like, or it's like, oh, Iran, like that's my cutoff. They're gonna do the war in Iran, like then I can't support them anymore. But like everything else,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just sad,
And like I've probably said before, like
bleak.
that's why like at the time I considered like people like Ron Paul or Tulsi Gabbard at that time period where I'm like, okay, when Ron Paul's talking about look at all the money we're spending in these wars, that's bad. Maybe he means war's bad, but this is my excuse, which is not good enough for me. I want someone to be very blatant, right? But if I was like, okay, this person means well, or I think they mean well, then I would understand. Just same with Tulsi Gabbard, and like she'd say, regime change wars. I'm like, whatever, during a debate or something like
Wasteful. Always add the qualifier. Waste.
that. And it's like, okay, if they mean well, they're using repeat phrases so that their words don't get, jumbled up, concise or something, I guess, or that people
Well, for
will
very specific
understand it.
purpose, media training and all that.
Yes, exactly. Which I do hate. I do despise that shit. Like, yeah, just talk normally, motherfucker. If
No
you're
way.
if you're a scatterbrain
way.
jibber jabber like me, then be like that. If you're a more concise person, then be concise. Fine, but you can tell it's like speech rhetoric.
Yeah, no, it's
Right.
media training. Like it's like straight up. Like this is you practiced this. It's well rehearsed.
Exactly.
The pauses, the gesture. It's too perfect. You know what I mean? It's like, did you like practice that? Anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely practiced. But
Not that there's anything wrong with like practicing what you want to say, but there's a difference between that and like if you have some sort of agenda that you're trying to like push through.
yeah,
You have certain talking points, and then you also work for the civil affairs and psychological operations unit in California. Whatever, lieutenant colonel.
and that's why the way it looks changes based on, okay, do you think they mean well? Or if you don't think they mean well, then now all of a sudden now it's like, okay, now you're putting on a performance or a play to trick me, versus, okay, you're using simple rhetoric so that people understand what you're saying. Like it's just but my thing is like no one's even bothering to look towards in that direction in any form or fashion in regards to like, hey, is this person like looking out for people, humanity, whatever? Like make some assessments. They're just leaving it a blank space. Like, oh, you can't know that one, so just leave it blank. Like, no, like fucking contemplate it. Doesn't mean you have to like stand on a
the absence,
platform
the
about
absence
it.
is strategic, though. It's just like the absence itself like structures the argument. Like it's very strategically done. I believe this to be true. I think it's a tactic. Because you can't you got to let people figure it out a little bit as well, right? Because you got to you don't have to say the whole thing because they know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like
And
part of the lore.
I still blame just regular people, bro. I still do.
Well, no, I'm
It's
saying the
just-
regular people. They have to let the regular people kind of like figure out, because it's like you can't say the whole thing. You have to kind of keep them coming back. So there's certain things that you leave absent, like the Hunter Biden laptop or the Epstein files or whatever. Something's always missing. The absence. Anyway.
See, I think you're making it even too smart because it feels
I
like
know.
sometimes I'll get in an argument with someone like they're like, oh, well, Trump doesn't want wars. Like, how do you know that, bro? And just like they send me a tweet. Here's a thread of him saying he doesn't want war. Like anyone can fucking say that, dude. Anyone can say words out loud. Anyone can do that. Period. This is your evidence that he doesn't want wars. Is fucking bullshit. They've been doing
Yeah,
that
but
this
he's never
whole
said
time.
the words. He's never said the words. I want more wars.
See, look, there's a leak from the
I
White
know what-
House. Trump is mad at
I know.
Netanyahu. He's mad at Netanyahu, see?
But he didn't say he wasn't mad at Netanyahu. See?
2 days later, yeah, I just talked to Netanyahu. We're planning a golfing trip tomorrow. Yeah, good guy. Really good guy. And they need to pardon him over there. He needs to be pardoned. Yeah, they're fighting. No, wait. That's a play. It's 5D chess. He's tricking them. He's lulling them to sleep so that he can sneak attack them later. These are things people actually say and think, apparently. And I'm wrecked by that. Anyways, let's keep it moving.
Kind of framework like the JCPOA. And maybe we could talk about
Look
the
at his
JCPOA
childish
because to me,
diagram
that
of
is the
some-
most important precedent.
Look at this fool.
I am trying to equal time. I was throwing a quick question.
These
back
dummies
to
like, look
Dinesh
how
to give you a
stupid that
longer
is, and they clap for it.
response because I'm glad we're having this debate. I just figured it would be about the current situation. I love the history, but we're kind of still in that, and I'm glad you guys are so informed and trying to educate people.
Yeah, let's get back to
And
Iran,
you guys
Israel.
If you want, counter back what he was saying, Dinesh, but then I would like to just interject. The current crisis, where do you see it going? The Fatwa, Trump saying, I'm going to kill, you're lucky I don't kill you. I might kill you, the Iranian leader, which I support Trump and love him, but, that was provocative. I mean, and also ask you guys where you think this is going, and is there a path?
I mean, he's
for
a great
peace?
guy.
There's
I
a
love
debate,
him.
Which I figured you guys would get into first about the Israel lobby.
All right, let me
Openly
say some
threatening
things
leaders of
about
other countries.
regime
I mean, I love
change
him,
to
so,
lay a
but,
foundation of what I think the MAGA view on this is, because I think the MAGA view on this is a repudiation of Bush, but it's not a repudiation of Reagan. In fact, it's a
By the way, these guys were Johnny-come-latelys to Trump, by the way. I think guys like D'Souza didn't exactly know where Trump was going to fall, and because all the crazy shit he was saying during the campaign trail in like the 2015 time period, right? These guys were like, well, we need to support, Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or someone like that. Like those, or Jeb Bush, like those are the guys we need to support. And then Trump
Blue
won.
energy, Jeb.
Yeah. At some point, these guys realize, oh, wait, Trump is a neocon like us. Okay. And now they're claiming to be the MAGA, like MAGA represents us, as in the neocon right. So it's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, they call the other side the isolationists. The isolationist MAGA.
I mean,
And then they say that they've made alliances with the far left.
Trump has done everything to dismiss the people that think he's like the guy who's going to usher in some sort of like Alex Jones says, a golden age in America. Because he's going to be like a real guy. He's not going to be some bullshit politician. And he said Trump does everything, at least in PR and words he says out loud, has done everything to separate himself from that. Everything. He sees Thomas Massey, like, we need to primary him. He hears from Tucker Carlson, like, no, I decide what America First means. I decide what that means. I decide what MAGA means, too. Right? To dismiss these guys. And yet, the dick riders still dick ride. It's like they forgot it happened.
And then you have Tucker Carlson who says, thank God, after Trump didn't continue the war strikes. Like, oh, he's not going to do the Iran war. Thank God. Oh, we dodged a yeah. I don't know.
Let's go back to funding the slaughter in Gaza. Let's go back to that, right? Right, Tucker? But they gave him $500 million recently. Added an extra $500 million to their efforts in Gaza. Of course.
Who?
The United States added an extra
Yeah.
$500 million to Israel's budget
Oh, well, that's nice. Little
as they're
bonus.
slaughtering people in Gaza. And these humanitarian aids where it's literally a trap where
Yeah.
they're just shooting at people looking for food. I mean,
The aid centers.
yeah. Like, devil worshipping
Yeah.
might be too nice of a word for things like that. And Trump
this is the
knows
thing.
that's happening.
With Gaza specifically, the biggest contributor was U.S. aid. Actually, I think they maybe they facilitated like 70% of the aid that went into Gaza.
Mhm.
So think about that. U.S. aid. There's no longer U.S. aid, so now it's just other NGOs from Denmark, from the UN, whatever. They're like scrambling to figure things out because the entire system was based, like, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but it was like somewhere between 60 to 70% was like through U.S. aid. So,
Well, I watched
or U.S. aid funded NGOs, which no
Yeah.
longer exist. So,
I watched a video of a guy like making a statement to the UN, who works with the UN, saying like, "Oh, we can get aid there," and like he was saying, I don't know how he would do it, but he was saying this at least that like, "Yo, I can guarantee that we can discriminate between a Hamas guy and just a regular civilian. Like, we can actually like make sure Hamas doesn't get the aid themselves. It actually just goes to civilians." And they're like. He was like, "Nope, you're not doing that. We're going to send in our little mercenary contractor groups along with IDF soldiers and shit like that.
yeah.
And
They'll never let the
we'll take
UN
care
just
of
do
it."
that because they think the UN is against Israel. And that's why they associate the UNRWA, like the UN
Yep.
food distribution.
Yeah.
Because that's where Khalil also had associations with. Anyway.
Yeah.
They associate that with like a terrorist organization. So, and Joe Biden did that. 2024. So,
Of course.
Joe Biden, thank you.
Lesser of evils. All right. There we go.
Of what I think the MAGA view on this is. Because I think the MAGA view on this is a repudiation of Bush, but it's not a repudiation of Reagan. In fact, it's a restatement of the Reagan principles, although admittedly in a very different situation. Obviously, in the 70s and 80s, the Reagan focus was on the Soviet Empire. The situation now is totally different. But there are a lot of really bad regimes in the world. And these are regimes that harm our interests in all kinds of ways.
What does that mean?
A simple question.
What's our interest?
Is it in our interest for these really bad regimes, and I'll be happy to go through a list and we can agree on what they are, would it be a good idea
It would distract
for these regimes to have change? For the bad guys who are running these regimes to go, get away, for the regimes themselves to be toppled, and for something else to take their place. So if we look at Iran, for example.
It's like they waited. The Iraq War, right? A lot of dumb fucks supported that thing, and then a couple of years later went against it, right? They hated it. And Bush was an idiot. He's stupid. We need change to change things around here. We can't just be doing these quote-unquote regime change things. They let time pass, and now it's rebranded, and now it's okay. If this guy said that in 2006 or 2007, if Dinesh D'Souza said that shit in 2006 or 7, like, some people need the leaders taken out and replaced. If he said that there, he would have been laughed out of the fucking building. But now it's 2025, and it's okay to say. You can say that now. You want to know why? Because the dumb fuck Orange Penguin rebranded it. You fucking dummies. Fuck. You fucking dummies.
They can just refer to him. They can just refer to him. And be like, well, he says what the real MAGA is, and this is what he said, so what, are you arguing with Trump? Huh?
This is peaceful regime change. It's the peaceful version. No bullets, no bombs fired. Regime change. Fuck. These guys used to have to, like, whisper it in little paid speeches somewhere. Now they're on the Conspiracy 9/11 guys channel saying it. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I'm wrecked. There we go. I'm wrecked by that one. He just openly said, like, well, there's probably some places that do need some new leadership. Would it be a bad thing if it happened?
Would it be a good idea for these regimes to have change? For the bad guys who are running these regimes,
Yeah, change
to
you can
go
believe in,
right
right?
away, for the regimes themselves to be toppled, and for something else to take their place. So if we look at Iran, for example, I would say I am willing to take any chance on getting rid of the mullahs, these jihadi mullahs, these people who wish death to us and are building up the means to do it. Oh, and I don't know. Okay, maybe Nick's right. Maybe he's wrong. I tend to believe the mullahs over Nick. They say that they want to have global.
This is where you ask dumb questions, very dumb questions. But what does that entail?
They say that they're
How'd you
building
do
up the strength to do it. They're
No, Dinesh, we're making you president right now. How do you do that? Tell me. What do you do? And you're like, there is no way to cleanly say that. I mean, they'll try to, but it'll sound absolutely unrealistic, right? There's no way you can say like, well, how do you change out the leadership in any of these countries because they're so dangerous? How do you do that? What does that look like? Make him explain it to you like you're a child, like you don't know anything. Make him explain it in full detail. What the fuck does that look like? And then you'll see like, oh, okay, you got picked on as a kid, and now you're taking it out on the rest of us. Got it. Makes sense now. Make these little dweebs explain themselves. But of course, it's more important to win the debate than to showcase the character of people. Let's win the debate over the character part. Fuck. There we go.
allying with other people who certainly do have nuclear weapons and do have that kind of power.
Hey, sorry I paused it again, but like, yo, fans of these people of the counter, I guess the right-leaning counter to the, you know, the new MAGA, right, which is the D'Souza neocon type people. Your guys' counters are kind of dog shit. Like Fuentes, Dave Smith, Candace Owens. Those are your fucking soldiers. Those are the guys that are going to fight for what? For what? Come on.
Price is king.
Don't fucking kid me with this shit. Fuck out of here. All right, here we go.
Would it be a good idea to have regime change in Iran? Would it be in our interest? Forget about Israel. Of course it would. Now, a separate question is, what are we willing to expend for that to happen?
Yeah,
My
tell us.
question to Nick is, all right, let's start at the very beginning. Would you be willing to expend 50 cents to get the mullahs to leave, to quit,
Oh my
to go home, to become refugees and go to other countries? They can go to luxury apartments in Qatar and elsewhere.
This is where, if I was
And
Nick, I'd ask about
the
human
Iranian
cost.
people have a
But,
plebiscite.
you
We're
know,
not going to go in there. We're not going to arrange tribal meetings. We're not going
Unless
to
it's
take over the
Christian
country.
humans, he's not
We're going to
gonna
let them
worry
fix it.
Yeah.
I would be very
I mean, there are
confident
Christians
that
in
what comes
Iran.
after, whatever it is,
and
it could be
Jews.
No, but unless it's,
autocracy,
like,
could be a
majority, like,
democracy,
he's
could be
not
some
worried about that.
hybrid,
That's not-
is going to be
Oh,
better
yeah.
than
Those
what's
are not the
there
Christians
now.
he's worried
So I
about.
think Nick
yeah.
is so blinded by his hatred of Israel that he's losing
Oh,
sight of
look at
America
this.
first. He's become automatically friendly to the mullahs. So
America
he's giving
first
them
means
a much more rational
Reaganite
account
policies.
of the Iranian interests than he even gives of American interests. I mean, every time he talks about
Reagan did
America,
use
he uses the phrase
Make
"we."
America great.
But let's
Make
remember
America great
that
again.
we've had
Yeah.
alternating regimes between Republicans and Democrats. So he mentioned the Arab Spring.
But,
The
like,
Arab
regular
Spring
people-
was
Yeah,
basically
Yeah,
an
but regular people
anti-American
don't think,
operation
like, that's not what they're thinking when they
organized
say
with
those
the help
words.
of
I don't
Barack
think, at
Obama.
least.
Barack Obama
I think it's some sort of
wants
fantasy
Iran
or
to
dream
have
that they're
nukes.
thinking
He
of.
was trying to create space for them to do that and give them money to enable them to do that. Why? Because Obama has
I
an
understand
ideology
Make America
that's
Great, but it's just when you
anti-American.
add that
So
again,
we can't.
you
Yeah.
polarize the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like because it's like for who, you know, for like what do you mean? Who are you talking about? Like, because when
Exactly.
you add that again, it's like that polarized. It's for division, in my opinion. But you know, what do I know? I'm not even from here.
Get rid of all brown people and black people unless they wear the correct suit and ties. Then now it's real America, and then we can say, and we can focus more on America first stuff. But all right, this guy mentions D'Souza mentions Obama here. I'm curious what he said. I kind of talked over it. Let me hear this shit.
America, he uses the phrase "we." But let's remember that we've had alternating regimes between Republicans and Democrats. So he mentioned the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring was basically an anti-American operation organized with the help of Barack Obama. Barack Obama wants Iran to have nukes. He was trying to create space for them to do that and give them money to enable them to do that. Why?
Oh, but I've never heard that one before. I straight up not heard that one. Even Dubster has not uttered that shit to me. He's like, yeah, I wanted to give him money. He wanted to give his fellow Muslims money. I've heard that. But he wants them to straight up have nukes. So he makes them sign a deal. Not makes them, but like agrees to a deal where they don't develop nukes and has oversight over their nuclear facility. He did all that just so they can have nukes? Why not just let them develop nukes and just ignore them? You're the fucking president. Why not just ignore them and let them develop nukes? Does that make sense? He just fucking said that. He wanted them to have nukes.
Yeah, because he's like a secret Islamo-Nazi, whatever.
But why would he have like create a deal where he has oversight? Why would he do that? Why not just like ignore them and let them develop nukes?
Yeah, because the oversight was like a ruse. The whole thing was like him setting it up. John Kerry, don't you know? $100 million.
Yeah, but logically, you don't need to do that. You could just let them just do it and just never talk about it.
They never said he was smart. They just said that he
was okay.
Islamist, yeah.
Okay, got it. He created
Michelle Obama's a man.
He created an unnecessary diversion, which actually maybe stunted Iran into getting nukes. If they wanted nukes so badly, kind of stunted them. So, okay, yeah, he's just stupid. He fucked up in trying to get the nukes. I mean, if you think about it, based on what we have reported, if they were less than 4% enrichment under the Obama administration after the IAEA and the nuclear deal and all that shit, right? If they were under 4% then Trump pulls out of it and then they get all the way up to 60%, maybe Trump's trying to help them get a nuke. Dun, dun, dun. Or that's all bullshit. Who knows?
That's TDS.
Oh, yeah, got it. All right, let's continue. Obama wanted to get Iran nukes, or he wants them to have nukes. All right, here we go.
Barack Obama. Barack Obama wants Iran to have nukes. He was
That's
trying
the
to
most
create
Welsh
space
shit I've
for
ever
them
heard,
to
I
do
think.
that and give them money to enable them to do that. Why? Because Obama has an ideology that's anti-American. So we can't just say we and take the blame for what Obama did and what other people did.
Watch the
Can Nick counter that? I don't think Nick can counter that. He'd be like, well, he is anti-American, right? Because he's
I'm pretty sure I've heard Alex saying the same thing that Dinesh was saying.
Yeah.
Not the nuclear part, but like, yeah.
So, like, no one's going to hear, like, the thing I just said about, the JCPOA, or was it? Yeah, JCPOA, all that stuff and the enrichment levels and all that stuff will not be heard because they all have to agree that Barack Obama hates America. Oh, my fucking God. This is dumb beyond words. I am wrecked. Please tell me there's at least a fan that knows something. Whatever. All right, here we go. I'm
trying to just be a referee here. Good points. Nick?
Well, that's a lot to
Good
tackle here.
points.
I would say in the
Good
first place,
points.
and I have to address this
I
first
like
just
your
to get it out of the way. When you say we take the mullahs at their word, you're citing one of their clerical leaders, and you say, well, that guy said it's about Islam. That defines their whole regime. If you want to take them at their word, let's go to the supreme leader. The supreme leader is the top cleric in Iran, the top cleric in Shiite Islam. It's in their constitution. Supreme leader's got to be a cleric. The Ayatollah promulgated a fatwa 20 years ago that says that attaining nuclear weapons and using them is against Islamic law. And that has been cited over and over again in 2005, in 2015. In recent negotiations, they say the supreme leader
Dinesh is going to cry.
It's contrary, and I could give you the quotes, completely to Islamic doctrine to have nuclear weapons. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say we're going to take them at their word when one guy in the government says we're going to take over the world, but you can't have it both ways and say we can't listen to the supreme leader say we don't want nuclear weapons. We have to do one or the other. I'll just say that first. Then we get further and we get into this question.
Nick, may I ask you a question about that?
Well,
just because I think
okay, sure. Yeah,
okay,
we'll
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, So, and then with regard to regime change, I would contend that regime change is just not desirable. You say, well, how much are you willing to expend to pursue regime change? I'm saying I don't think it's desirable. And here's the evidence for this. You say, well, I'm confident something better will
Ottawa.
happen. There'll be this democratic plebiscite. What is the history of regime change? When Hosni Mubarak was overthrown in Egypt, you got the Muslim Brotherhood, Islamism, Mohammed Morsi. When Gaddafi was overthrown, you get warlords, you get civil war. When Syria was overthrown, you get ISIS. You get this guy al-Julani, who's literally from ISIS and Al-Qaeda. In Afghanistan, you still have the Taliban. If we overthrow Iran, and by the way,
Can't tie it to Trump, right, Nicky boy?
When Israel
Can't do that,
attacked
right?
Iran 2 weeks ago,
Got it.
they thought that the government would collapse and the people would rise up and they would overthrow the government. This is what they said for years. The opposite happened. The people rallied to the supreme leader. They said, we're under attack from a foreign entity. They actually rallied in the streets, and there were major funeral processions for the martyrs, the IRGC leaders that were killed. They rallied behind the government. If anything, if this government goes down, I don't know where you think we're going to get something better. We're going to get something more hardcore. The reason why it matters to articulate Iran's interests is to say, if their worst fear is regime change, which is the credible fear of all leaders, every leader wants to stay in power. No leader wants to meet the fate of Gaddafi. No.
I'm going to pause one there. Once again, for me, is not part of my arguments. I mean, I bring up the idea of like power vacuums and shit like that, right? But that, to me, is according to plan for what, whatever nation's trying to overthrow another nation. Like, destabilization is super duper part of it. 100%. Destabilize it and then create it, then recreate it in your own image. Set people up, fund certain people, whatever, arm certain people, make sure they become the winners. But once again, let's say they overthrow Iran and things just go very smoothly. All of a sudden, it's a new group just shows, like the fucking Shah guy comes back to Iran. He just takes over immediately, becomes the new ruler. Everything like works out. Is that not still bad? That's still bad. On a moral level, that's bad. So that's why, I understand the arguments of unforeseen consequences, but the action itself, for me, is the terrible consequence. That's the action itself of bombing Iranian leadership itself is the problem for me already. Or planning to do it, or planning to do subversions, or planning to pay groups to go in there and overthrow it. Either way, it's all devil worshipping and moral ass shit. So these little fucking in my opinion, dog shit, ass backwards practicalities of things. Look how much money we're spending. Look at the fallout. Look at the unforeseen consequences. What are we talking about, dude? I understand you're wearing a suit, Nick, but you're not supposed to be one of the suits, right? On paper, at least. You're supposed to be a regular-ass person that's watching this. Wait a minute. People, imagine someone who knows nothing about this. A young person or even an older person. No idea about any of this stuff. And you just told them one day, in plain detail, all of it, right? They should be like, what the fuck? Right? Shouldn't it be this is some movie shit. This shouldn't be happening. That's shit that happens in movies with bad guys and villains and all that stuff. People aren't supposed to be engaged in shit like this. And that's the sensibility I want to look at, go there. But these guys never do it. They just go to win debates. They just want to win the debate and say, look, I crushed Dinesh D'Souza, or I crushed Nick Fuentes, or I crushed Douglas Murray. Instead of yo, what's the point? Why are you so hardcore? I mean, Nick Fuentes doesn't count in this discussion. I think he said it before. He's okay with Israel crushing the competition and destroying other people. He just doesn't want America involved in it. But someone I guess, at least on the surface, a Dave Smith guy, right, who he doesn't say it, but he makes it sound like he's talking about morality, right? Oh, this is wrong. This is why we can't do this. We can't do this because it's fucking wrong, right?
Well,
That
he
never
also
goes
said
to that level. What's up?
He also said that it would be okay to sacrifice the West Bank in order to end this,
Fuck my life.
in order to have a ceasefire in Gaza, right after Trump was elected and he voted for him. I think that was when I muted him. Anyway.
Oh my god. Yeah,
It was pretty gross. And it was he got a lot of pushback on that and he was quiet about it for a while. So, it was embarrassing. It's Ew.
This is right after election, you said?
Yeah.
Or okay.
He was just like something about like if we have to, if the West Bank's gonna have to be compromised as a compromise, it's better than like the genocide in Gaza or something.
Oh my God, these fucking idiots. God. Like
He
once
said
again,
that wasn't his line. That wasn't his line. It's just like, wow. Okay.
once again, if you take that scenario and put it in the realm of morality, there's no way you could say that. It doesn't work. Just like the Ian Carroll guys are like, oh, well, maybe the U.S. should occupy Gaza because then Israel can't just bomb it all day and night. I'm like, fuck. Like, do you not understand
irrational.
here?
Well, it's like, where are they getting the bombs? Like, so I don't understand. Like, if they're giving them the bombs, why would it matter if the U.S. was in charge of it? Like,
Exactly.
it doesn't make sense. It's incoherent.
That's what people were telling him.
Oh, I saw. I remember.
Because this fool would say, like, well,
was
what else
getting
could we
dragged.
do? What else could we do then, huh? What are we supposed to do? Like, is that your first fucking option? That's where your thoughts went? Like, that's like there's nothing else to do but occupy Gaza, I guess. It's like, what?
He was like, I'm trying to look on the bright side. Okay.
Fuck.
Whoa.
I love
Toxic
this.
positivity.
Like, speaking of these characters, these are the guys that, and let's be real, Fuentes can say, I didn't vote for Trump. He can say that all day and night. But let's be real, the quasi kind of peripheral support, let's be honest. These guys helped get him elected. And now, once he gets elected, now they're the guys that are supposed to help us fix the problem now. It's unbelievable. That's a point David Icke made that I'm like, fucking right on. Spot on. The people that told us to vote and support for this fucking guy are now the ones complaining, like telling us, yeah, Trump's messing up and here's how we fix it.
As if they're breaking news.
Exactly.
Crazy. It's
like this was
excuse me?
all blatantly seeable. Blatantly seeable. I gave reasons for the first election of Trump where I'm like, okay, I don't know what the fucking guy's going to do. And you know what? I understand why someone might vote for him. I understand it. Not saying I would do that at all. I was definitely nowhere near doing that for myself. But I'm saying I understood why others did it. But after probably weeks, I'll be nice and say a couple months, you should have known, like, all right, we fucked up. He's not the guy. But guess what? That 4-year little fucking nap these motherfuckers took carried all the way over to 2024, and they elected the motherfucker again. And now all this wild shit is happening. and they, once again, campaigned for him, essentially, promoted him, essentially. If you're Jimmy Dore and you get on your channel and you tell your audience, he's the lesser evil. He is more pro-peace than any of the Democrats. If you get on your channel and do that, sorry, I'm calling that quasi-support. Let's just be honest about it. And and now we're here. And now they're the first ones telling us, yeah, you heard it here first. Trump is not that guy. Meanwhile, the blatant neocons, or guys who are owned by neocons like Alex Jones, but the blatant neocons like Dinesh D'Souza, or Tim Pool, or Stephen Crowder, and these types are telling you, no, Trump's doing a good job. You just don't understand why he's doing a good job. Let me explain it to you. They now start creating this gray area where it's dumb fuck on the right and dumb fuck on the left, debating on Alex Jones' show, telling us they're the arbiters of this whole conversation. Like they're the important voices in the conversation. Meanwhile, they both get the fucking thing wrong. In my humble opinion. But here's where we are. All right.
The experts. Bring on the experts.
Yeah, bring them on.
Let them cook, as the kids say.
Somehow they're experts over critiquing Trump over people that were never in support of Trump and were critiquing him the entire time. Like, I thought it was kind of funny watching, once again, I'm not like the biggest fan, and like I like David Icke, like as a person. I think he seems like a nice guy. I don't know why. I don't know him personally though, so don't hold me to that. Or someone like Derek Bros, right? Don't know him personally. Like, oh, he seems all right of a guy, and he's like, he kind of broke out of his shell. I was like, bro, we were telling you this shit, and no one fucking listened to us. You were like, He said, "Let's make a thread about
But this
what
is the
motherfuckers were
thing,
doing
though,
this
with
shit." Yeah.
Bros had Ian Carroll on his show twice.
He did. Yeah.
Yes. Not a. I mean, he pushed back, but it was like in this very passive way that just didn't really get to the core of the matter ever. It's just, ugh.
Fair enough. I did not see that, so
Yeah,
I knew it
was
happened. I
annoying.
didn't watch it. I'm just like, I don't want to look
It
at
was
this
annoying.
Ian Carroll guy,
And
bro.
it got boring too. So like, I would totally understand why people would tune out, because it's just kind of Ian not really answering any questions, but then Derek not being like, "Oh, can you answer this?" He was like, "All right, man, like, fair enough." Like, no, not fair enough. This is nonsense. I mean, it's the same thing that Ryan Christian did with Jimmy Dore when he had him on his show the last time.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of like the same type of treatment. And then like when somebody asks about it on Twitter, they get blocked. And it's just like, why? It's so whack. Anyway.
Must protect my intellect.
Come on, get over yourself. Like, do you take yourself that seriously? It's so dumb. It's like Jimmy Dore was blatantly telling him, well, I mean, Trump is more anti-war or something. Like, then, like, Kamala is going to get us into all these wars. Like, I'm going to, I could understand why people are taking their chance on Trump. I'm like, and then Ryan is just like, yeah, well, fair enough. Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm like, no, no.
I mean, even up to when did I see this video of Jimmy Dore? Like maybe a couple months ago, where there was like some speech that Barack Obama was doing, and then Jimmy clipped the video and wrote like a tweet about it, and was still saying that Trump is less pro-war than Barack Obama. Like, holy fucking shit! You're the biggest warmonger of them all. Like, holy shit, you idiot! What the fuck?
Who is paying you? Anyway, go ahead.
Anthony saw something. Or did he say he got it from you? I don't know. About
the COVID dissident thing with the gray zone and the guy who, I think, Anthony, you know what I'm talking about?
What?
I think it was something different. Wasn't it like you?
Oh, it was?
Maybe it was just Anthony. He just saw it on his own. The live stream where he said his channel was like, or Kurt Metzger was going crazy, and then the chat was roasting him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the guy who was funding the Jimmy Dore.
What was the context again? The chat was sending super chats about about Trump bombing Iran. And Kurt Metzger was like, yo, fucking Steve Bannon knew.
Oh.
and Jimmy was quiet. Jimmy wasn't saying nothing. And at a certain point, Kurt's like, I'm like, right, Jimmy, right? And Jimmy's like, yeah, well, I don't know what Steve Bannon knows or not. Like, bruh.
Listen, we had dinner.
The subject, like, and then then somebody super chatted, yo, Jimmy, why you always defending Trump? And he's like, I never defended Trump. I never let my support the Trump. I even said because of what he did in Gaza, I couldn't support Trump. But he clearly did, bro. We clearly heard him. We clearly heard him tell Aaron Mott that he had hope.
That's Nick Fuentes saying, I didn't vote for Trump. That's the same thing. I didn't vote for him. Like, bro, come on. Come on. We saw your little sit down with Alex Jones. There's the same thing with Jimmy. Like, someone could make probably an hour-long mixtape of this guy doing this shit. I did a small video with him talking to Scott Ritter where he's doing that same shit. Where it's tacit support for Trump, like straight up.
Yeah, the Scott Ritter one was crazy. Him and Scott Ritter were they were like tongue kissing each other over Trump.
And it's like, bro, you're caught. What did you say?
Oh, Trump gets me wet. That's literally what was going on.
Your audio was fucked up, Chip. You were saying something.
I can't legally vote.
Now I hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, I hear you now. I hear you now.
Oh, I can't legally vote. Drug chargeless, reckless endangerment, firearm in a public parking lot.
Public, touching yourself in public.
Nah, nigga. Yeah, I would never do that. That's you don't want to go to jail for shit like that. Trust me. That ain't a good look.
All right, let's get back to
If I,
this.
if I ever went to jail for that, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Trust
Holy
me.
fuck! Oh shit, we're recording by the way. I'm sorry. I didn't think to say. Unless you don't give a shit, then whatever.
I never give a shit. I'm Chip.
I have to
You
let
know my
people know I'm recording, just so they know.
I'm Chip. You know my face. You know my address, and you know I get busy. So any nigga want to run up, just show me a picture, give him my address.
Hey,
You know
yo.
my
Okay, let's not do
code.
that on my channel, or I'm accessory to something.
Now, you won't be accessory to anything because I'm giving you permission. Accessory to something is if you're with me while I'm doing the offense, that makes you accessory to the fact. You're fucking in New York, I'm in Canada, nigga.
I'm in
That means if
Alaska.
they
How
run
dare you?
up on me,
I'm
that means if they run up on me and you're fucking 10,000 miles away, they can never charge you with accessory to anything. You have to be near me to be charged with accessory. I know the fucking law.
All right, whatever. All right, let's continue on here. Dumb fuck A on the left and dumb fuck B on the right. Although I realize people will consider dumb fuck B on the right a little less of a dumb fuck than the guy on the left. Hopefully that made sense. But here we go.
Leader wants to be deposed and live in exile. If their credible fear is regime change, and we pursue that in one form or another, and it's a little naive to say they're going to come together and have a new government. CIA and State Department and Israel will be all over that, just like they have in all these other operations. You're going to get hardliners. You're going to get IRGC commanders that said, our worst nightmare happened. Now we're really in a apocalyptic war. Now we're really, this is the end times. The United States overthrew us.
Okay,
so
so
I'm
you want to
against
answer?
regime change.
Just, I'm gonna watch the clock here. Do you want to answer?
By the way, if there was attempted regime, like where it's openly known that the U.S. is a part of it, those army bases are going to get bombed. They are. And then you're now you're in a different territory of warfare. Or of, at least on the surface, actions that people are going to be doing. Like, it is what it is. But, here we go.
Answer Dinesh's question or just go back to Dinesh?
Was that, what question?
I forget the exact question, Dinesh. You had a question, though?
Oh, well, I've forgotten what the question was.
I know
but
there's a
that's
lot
okay.
being talked about here.
I'd rather respond to this larger theme here a little bit because, look, I mean, Nick, you're 26, and so it's understandable that your view of history, you keep saying
You don't know
history,
anything.
regime change is about history, and the history you give is like 4 years old. You know, your
Oh,
compass is so
fuck this
narrow
fucking liar.
that you don't understand that I could give you 40 examples of regime change through history that have all worked out beautifully. Some recent, some more ancient.
It works. See what you gave him, Nick? Instead of saying, like, wait a minute, this is, like, immoral. Now you gave him, like, what you gave him as a response to it is like, hey, sometimes these things can go bad sometimes. And he's like, well, no, I have a history of where they work out exactly the way the U.S. wanted it. Not the U.S. citizen, not mom and dad, not the Little League coach, but the U.S. State Department. It worked out perfectly fine for what they wanted.
Just like Trump said, oh, regime change has gotten a bad rep or whatever. It was.
Yeah, it's
He put his-
politically incorrect, I think he said.
Yeah.
Oh, my dear Lord. Like, well, Nick, now you got to respond to this. He's going to have 10,000 examples, once again, where the winners write history, right? But regardless, it's still what's written on paper, and he'll be able to use those examples as saying, see, look, regime change does and can work. Maybe not all the time, but it works for most of the time.
Yeah, because he gave him an opening. Because it's like they practiced the sword fight. It's like,
Exactly.
you know which way I'm going to go, so I can give you an opening and argue back and forth. Because both of the arguments are flawed, but they can't actually talk about that because that's the agreement. Like, it's this
And no one goes
agreement, I
anywhere.
guess.
No
Yeah.
one gets anywhere.
They go on a loop.
There, wait, what does Trump call it? Not the snake, the weave, right?
The weave, yes, the weave, yes.
This is a duo, a co-weave. All right.
It's the double Dutch, the weave double Dutch.
All right, here we go. It's just Nick. Well, once again, this is me leaving room for the possibility, like, okay, he's trying to, for whatever his reasons are, to keep the U.S. out. I leave room for that. I have to leave room for that.
I'm so sorry. No.
I have to consider the possibility. Thus, if he
That
was
an honest actor.
yeah, I leave room for that. I don't know.
What
I don't know this
percentage?
fucking guy.
Like
Fuck.
0.000000001%.
Anything that registers as a percentage is enough for me to leave room. That's the way I
That's
walk
fair.
around.
I believe that as a human being, he's capable of either change or meaning well or whatever. So I'm not saying that I leave that out, but I'm saying at this moment, from what I have seen of this human being, alleged human being, he's he's a charlatan. He's I'm sorry, from what I see.
Yeah, I think he's full of shit too, personally. Yeah. Or I think he's, for the most part, I think he's full of shit. But
how are you best friends with Laura Loomer? How does that work?
For the sake of discussion, so that's why, like, I have to consider this idea for the sake of, like, almost like a thought experiment. Like, okay, if Nick meant well, what would he? If Nick meant well and was better equipped with arguments, maybe you'd say something like this in response to Dinesh D'Souza, or you wouldn't go down this trail of argumentation of like, well, regime change ends in bad results. Not bad in the sense of morally bad, as in people get harmed, but bad as in, like, we end up in a quagmire or a forever war or something like that, right? And it's like, dude, that's going to be countered by, like, this guy's going to counter that. That was my sake of roomness there. Also, in reality, I leave room.
And if you actually corner Nick, which I've seen him cornered before on a Twitter space by my friend Jeremy, and he will be insulting and rude and degrading and then run away from the conversation like a little bitch. And I heard him, and I'm like, okay, you have an agenda you're pushing. Your little fucking Jehovah's Witness tie. Get the fuck out of here. Don't knock on my door. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, all right. Yeah. My sense of me thinking he's full of shit is in the sense of maybe more leaning towards celebrity, of just maintaining a name and maintaining particular arguments for the sake of maintaining that name. And, like, it's kind of like optics, meaning, like, this. It seems more likely that he's here for winning a debate than actual care about the topics. But he could also be extra full of shit, like, you know, working for someone or whatever.
Ben Shapiro. That was kind of how he got his start. It was through the Daily Wire. Funny enough, at least funding-wise. And there was, like, the whole debating in the colleges thing.
Yeah.
And he actually admired Shapiro at one point, then he realized the Jays control everything. Just like how Candace Owens, who comes out of Daily Wire. I'm like, who are these people? Who are these people? Anyway, go ahead.
Chasing people down, asking about USS Liberty. All right. There we go.
There was regime change in Spain. Franco fell. Spain became a democracy. You had autocrats all over South America. Those regimes all changed. Many of those countries are much better off as a result. The United States produced regime change in Mexico. There was
the character of Nick Fuentes can't just say,
well, the one who actually
that's wrong, though, right?
Us in the Alamo and in Texas.
If we don't like our neighbor, we can't just infiltrate their house and take it over, right? That'd be wrong morally, right?
Counting, of course, the Nazi regime in Japan in World War II. The Soviet Union was regime change of an excellent quality. So regime change sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't work. A lot of times it depends kind of on
people die in between all these actions he's talking about, all these historical events.
You know, Alex
but more people
brought up Israel. I want to get into
Israel,
got it. Do that. Here's the point I want to make. It is very much, in my view, in our interest and Israel to have regime change in Iran. And if Israel is willing to do it, I would say more power to them.
No.
Trump is stopping them.
No. This is not more power to them, because we're handing them weapons and money and funding and intel and defensive measures. We've knocked missiles out of the sky to protect Israel. Like, this is not them on their own. Everything Israel was doing in regards to Iran, the U.S. was intricately a part of. Intricately. Everything happening in Gaza right now, the U.S. has been intricately a part of that as well. Like straight up. So this is not. If Israel wants to do it, they can just do it on their own. Just do their own thing. We just get out of their way. Like no, no,
The creation
no.
of
That has not been
Israel, They were
happening.
intricately involved in. They like the
Exactly.
just so was the UK, all that. So it's like it's silly to think. I don't know.
Yeah. And of course, what's the counter to that, Sebs? Well, Israel owns our government. That's why. Like, bro, I'm gonna freak the fuck out when I hear that shit. Like, we can't think a little bit more intelligent about this topic, a little bit more nuance, considering more factors. It just seems like a simple phrase to say and just run with it. That means
Yeah,
you
and
can
it's becoming more common.
pre-diagnose situations. It's a lot
Even in the-
common. Yeah.
Especially even in the liberal spaces, what I noticed, like even these progressives.
Oh yeah. Jimmy
they
Dore
talk
screams
real
that
crazy.
all day and night. Jeffrey Sachs screams that all day and night. These guys scream that shit. Israel owns the U.S. government. They just state it as fact. I'm like, I bet if Israel disappeared one day, just off the map, just disappeared, they all disappeared, the U.S. would still be fucking around the Middle East. They still would be doing that. Like, come on. It's about terraforming, in my opinion, I think it's about terraforming the Middle East into their own image, meaning leaders that will roll with them. Oh, you're a gangster that will work with me as a gangster, or work for me as a gangster. Like Syria, like that's the most blatant example. Is ISIS or Al Qaeda or whatever the fuck you want to call him, affiliated Jelani guy in Syria, is that in Israel's interest? Maybe it is, but it's definitely in the U.S. interest because of what? Hegemony over the area. We have another attack dog in the area. We have airspace to fly over without threat. We have routes for oil and resources and shit now to subvert Russia or
Isn't
Iran.
that why they did that Hezbollah attack thing? Was in order to destabilize like that region in terms of in Lebanon, so that because that's another stronghold.
Yeah.
So that's like weaken that, get rid of Assad, and then
I mean,
and you can surround.
I don't think Israel attacks Iran without Syria falling first. Syria fell.
Well, no, because Assad was also working very closely with the Iranian government.
Yes.
So there's a coalition there.
Yes, and the airspace.
And Russia, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, like Iran, Russia would not do. Russia loves Israel, by the way. So
of course,
but
they're the first to recognize Israel as a state.
And they're like, there's so many Russian-speaking Israelis over there. Like I heard Putin say that. Like, but
most Israelis are Ukrainian or Russian.
There you go.
And then Poland and stuff. But yeah, I think it's like 43%. There's been papers, like articles about it. It's not like not a secret.
Yeah. But if Assad's in Syria, Israel can't just willy-nilly fly planes over their fucking country to attack Iran, or use Syria as like a place to refuel in the air and then go back to fighting Iran. Like that wouldn't happen if at least on paper, that wouldn't be happening if Assad is there. So when Assad fell, that opened up the airspace for Israel to launch attacks on Iran, along with European and American fueling planes to fuel them as they're doing it. Like we are directly a part. Like so, to go back to the point, they are not on their own just doing shit willy nilly. If they're my humble opinion, I could be absolutely wrong, but what I've seen so far, if Israel went up against Iran 1v1 with no help from anyone else, Israel's getting shit on, in my humble opinion. I'm sorry, but like, who the fuck do these guys fight? Actually, who do they actually war against in modern day? Who do they actually fight for real? Women and children in Gaza, militias of Hamas in Gaza. Like, come on. There's Hezbollah in Lebanon, but are they doing like hardcore ground force fighting like they would have to do in Iran if they actually wanted to take down Iran?
Drones and beepers, I guess.
And pagers, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pagers. I don't know. No.
They
deal with more like signal stuff, like signals and like they have a lot of like intel that they have to sell or technology that they have to develop, and then it gets built in China, right? So, I mean, that's just that's true. Like, they have electricians from Russia developing ideas and models in Israel that then they make in China.
Yeah. So, you're not you're not just gonna bomb Iran and then they're gone now. That's not gonna happen. You would have to actually like ground force fight them, just like the U.S. right couldn't take down the
They don't
fucking
think they need to do that
Houthis.
anymore.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I don't think that they need to do any ground anything, because you would just like get rid of, or you would disrupt like a power grid or something in a country. You could do a lot more damage doing that, or like the internet.
Yeah,
goes
but if they
down.
wanted to regime change them, like actually, like
Oh,
okay, we
yeah.
take out the leadership, like you would have to actually have
I
ground
don't think they
forces.
even want to get rid of the leadership, because then they don't have any reason to be mad at Iran, and
I'm
like the
just
tension
saying.
wouldn't exist.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, if Israel and Iran 1v1, right? Just
Oh, yeah.
them versus them, and they actually wanted to change out the regime, they don't have the power to do that. They don't. They don't have that, bro. Their ground
No, they don't have the
forces
numbers.
are not going to fight over there like that. It's just not happening. The U.S. would
Well,
struggle
they don't have
themselves.
the numbers either.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they don't physically have the numbers, because it's like Iran's like 100 million people
Yeah.
almost.
And we saw what
Maybe
Iran
longer.
bombs were doing. So it's like, that's just not, it's not tenable.
Mm.
So
It's
him
like what, 10
saying,
million people in Israel?
yeah,
So, yeah.
and their fucking ballistic missiles were getting through the defenses. Like, yeah, unless that
The
was,
Iron Dome.
unless that was bullshit or whatever, but it looked,
I don't
I
know.
guess, legit, I guess. But yeah, back to what D'Souza's saying, like, yeah, if Israel wants to do that, they can just go ahead and do it. Like, they can't just go ahead and do that. They
But
need
they wouldn't
help
do
from
that
allies.
anyway by themselves. Yeah, it's Israel and the U.S. are one. It's not two separate entities. It's like
And as far as I
it's a
understand.
symbiotic relationship.
I mean, I think the same is with Saudi Arabia too. I think it's very symbiotic
Oh,
over
yeah,
there as well.
absolutely. I think probably more with the U.K. for them. But yeah,
Okay.
like similar to the West.
I'm watching fucking. I just watched wrestling events over the weekend where they're fighting, they're playing, they're doing their shit in Saudi Arabia,
I believe it.
and these
doing
motherfuckers are
soccer
howling
there.
as loud as anyone could howl at a fucking sporting event. They're wearing the T-shirts like Austin 316, right? They're fucking.
They changed their law for Cristiano Ronaldo when he moved to their country to play soccer. About women and their husband, like about a couple living together without being married, because he's not legally married to his partner.
Yeah,
So, but they changed their law to accommodate.
because it's not about the way D'Souza or Alex Jones or maybe even Fuentes would say.
Exactly.
It's Sharia law, and like nah.
Makes no sense.
These are gangsters working. It's gangsters working together, bro. Carving up
It's not Sharia supremacy,
territory for like it's a piece of cake.
as they've always done.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to it. Here we go.
Trump says, no, I'm going to save the life of Khamenei. And so Trump, in this sense, I think,
Which allegedly was a
is
lie.
more
Yeah.
allergic to the risks of regime change and
Like,
willing
are
to
you
keep the
trying to
mullahs
say
in
his name
power.
crazy?
But what's really important here is Israel is not controlling Trump. It's the other way around. If you leave it to Netanyahu, you leave it to the Knesset, they would like to overthrow the mullahs, and they have the power to do it. And the fact that they're not doing it shows that, again, to use my old phrase, the great Satan is controlling the little Satan and not the other way around. There's another example just from today. Trump is basically pressuring Netanyahu to have a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza. Now, first of all, Israel has every moral
Oh my
right
God.
to level Gaza. And what I
Oh
mean
my
by that
fucking
is,
God.
honestly, when
Oh my fucking God. I mean, these images alone are freaking me out, but he just said Israel has every right to level Gaza. Yeah. Now, this is where, once again,
He's acting crazy.
it's
This
simple
is like
question.
normal, but this is a guy who dated Ann Coulter, so we'll just leave it at that.
They dated. Oh, for sure.
Yes!
I'm beating the fuck out of this guy. I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna
Yes!
fucking throw
He
him.
They dated.
It's my girl. I'm gonna dunk
This guy's
this
a
fool.
piece of shit.
I'm gonna dunk this fool.
Him and Ann Coulter went on Tim Pool's show together.
Yeah, I saw that, but I thought they were
Mhm.
just there as like right wing
No, they're
neocons.
ex-lovers.
Bullshit, bro. I don't believe it.
Swear to
I
God.
don't.
Look
be-
it up.
Nope.
Whatever.
I don't care what the internet says. I don't buy it.
Nick Coulter got bad taste. Bill Maher and Dinesh D'Souza.
She's too.
Right? Why does she go for such dweebs? What's wrong with her?
She's first of all, she's too freaky, and she's too like dominant. Or maybe she just picks like weak men. Like she can dominate them. Maybe that's the thing. I could be a weak man. I could do that.
Like a sadomasochist.
Hit me up, man. But yeah. But like, okay, before he even says it, what do you guys think with Nick Fuentes? Like, what's he gonna say to that? Like, Israel has the right to demolish Gaza, right? What would be his response to that?
Be like, wait, the U.S. shouldn't be funding it.
That's a good answer. That's a good one. As far as like what Nick would say.
Yeah. It would have to be that. Because
That's
what
pretty
else
good.
could you say?
That it's fucking wrong. Like this is you're killing
no, I'm saying
thousands
for him,
of people.
For his parameters.
I know.
Because his argument is not that they're wrong. So it's like, that's it. That's all he's left with.
I mean, but all right, I leave room for he could go full blown PR, right? Because everyone's main complaint is that they're seeing fucking innocent men, women, and children getting just blown up and burned to death and killed and shit.
That's not his main complaint.
Maybe he PRs it though. He goes for the public relations answer and says like, "Well, look what they're doing to regular people," just to win the argument. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's going to be about money.
God damn. Let's find out. You got something, Anthony? You have an idea? Nah? All right, let's find out. Here we go.
A country attacks you when you are invaded.
Stick her hand in
just
the
like
hole
if
of the
there's
wall.
a home invasion. Some guy comes into
Oh
my
my
house,
God.
rapes
She
my
put a note
wife,
in there,
kills
"Help
my
me."
daughter, kills my kids, and then he runs away.
You put his secret message in there. Yeah.
This is my money, help me.
Bro.
I'm telling you.
I swear,
Put a
I don't
fucking
see
note
that
in
lady
there.
anymore. Do you see her anywhere anymore? Melania?
No,
I'd
he
never see her.
has. They disappeared her. She wrote that book
Oh my
about
God.
ocean rights.
Someone wrote that
Yeah.
book, for sure. Someone wrote
Whoever,
that.
yeah.
She's-
She's trying to get some help.
She put a distress call SOS
She
into the
did.
fucking wall. Yo,
She's
help.
like, I'm gonna be at the Saint whatever hotel in Tel Aviv this time.
Fuck my life.
Yeah, poor woman.
He's probably got this chick out here working out day and night to stay like keep like the model shape and all that stuff. While he's just like eating Big Macs and shit, destroying,
fries,
killing
telling
people. Fuck.
Telling her she's looking fat and shit as he's eating. Asshole. Like, you getting a little weight, huh? Fuck you.
Fuck my life. That's hilarious. All right, here we go. Let's hear what Nick's response is for this.
And I chase after him. And of course, I chase this car down. I stop him.
He got
He
the
jumps out of the
yarmulke.
car, grabs his own kids, and sticks them in front of him. And then he goes, "Don't shoot because women and children are in front of me." No, what you've done, you put your children in danger, first by invading my house, and second by using them as human shields. I am not under any moral strictures based on what you did to me. I have
Is he
every
born in
right
India,
to attempt to destroy
D'Souza?
you,
Yeah.
and the suffering
Okay.
of your
Pretty sure he's
women and
Indian.
children
Because
is the
these
result of
motherfuckers are
your
wild over
actions
there.
and not mine. So my point is, once you had October 7th, and October 7th, by the way, bankrolled
These
by Iran,
motherfuckers hate Muslims,
planned
bro.
in Iran.
A lot of
Israel
them.
has every right,
Yeah, there's a
strategic,
pipeline.
moral, political, to strike out at Gaza and to strike at Iran. And so the United States is the one that's tying their hands. And so once again, even with this Gaza treaty, you can see that the man in charge, the numero uno, is not Netanyahu, it's Trump.
Okay, so I
That
want
was-
to Bill come back.
Daddy.
I gotta say
That was
something
the gayest
Dinesh,
thing
you're
I've
a
ever
great
heard in
guy.
my
I
life.
respect
I'm
you.
telling you,
I've
he's like,
known
he's
for 20
my
years.
daddy.
But the analogy of somebody
Okay.
breaking
Yeah,
your
this
house,
Ann Coulter thing, I don't buy it,
raping,
bro.
killing
He's
your
too
wife and
weak.
daughter,
Way too weak.
and you chase them down so he
That's
uses
exactly
his
why.
kids. They're still innocent.
Nah, he's
And-
too
and
weak.
Look, I get it. 50,000 dead in Gaza.
weak.
The whole liberal media making it the biggest
he's
thing
probably
ever.
his
I'm
daddy.
sad it
He's a
happened.
soft man
The
with
left
weak
loves
shoulders,
the war in
bro.
Ukraine, over 1 million dead.
Fuck out of here.
But, and I understand what we did to Germany in World War II. I know Israel's argument. But to say then if somebody uses their own kids as human shields, I don't know if somebody killed my wife and daughter, they use their kids as human shields, I'd wait till they drop the kids or I'd, whatever. I just think it's an oversimplification.
Where are we going,
You,
Alex,
you
with that?
wouldn't wait till they drop the kids. What you would look for a clean shot at them. But if you accidentally hit their kids, whose fault would it be, yours or theirs?
Wow.
He is premeditatedly. He's
Well,
trying
answer.
excusing the amount of. Isn't it like 40% or something like that? It's like as far as the official numbers are children
Mhm,
that
our
have died.
children. Under like 14 or something. No, under 12. It was some low number because they're slower.
Yeah.
They can't run. It's the same way.
Hey, by the way, Trump fans, some of them are American citizens too, by the way. Just so you know. Just so you know, some of them are American citizens that are dying in Gaza over there. I kid you not. But yeah, he's premeditatedly excusing what's happening over there. Nick's like, he thinks he's going to trick me by like, I'm not going to talk about the dead kids. I'm going to talk about how much money we're fucking spending. Look at his fucking face. Like, how do you look at these three fucking losers right here, bro? How do you fall for this shit? How do you fall for this? I don't get it, bro. Fuck, I'm wrecked. A dweeb. I see all the way to the left, a dweeb. I see in the middle, midlife crisis, just jacking on TRT all day and night. And I see I see Patrick Bateman all the way to the right. Like, how are we falling for this? Like, how? God dang it. All right, here we go.
I get your point. That's fair. Touche. So go ahead, Nick.
That's fair. Touche.
Yeah. Well, I forgive me, but I have to do this. You know, you said that I'm a young man and my view of history is so short.
Yeah, defend yourself over. He just said it's okay to kill kids.
Here.
He just said it's okay to kill kids. And you're going to like, well, let me defend myself here, my image.
He's stuck on that first thing he said where he's like, oh, you're so shallow.
Fuck.
Yeah.
You don't know any history. You're too young. Well, let me go back and answer that. No, wait. The student's like, well, you know, you're really not, you're young, Nick. You're naive. You don't know what's going on. You don't know the history of things. And also, we should kill every child we see. Hey, what'd you say about me? Huh? You think I'm too young for this? Huh? Like, skips over the point where he's like, yeah, just kill kids. Fuck it. They're in the way, dude. You're trying to hit the bad guy, but the kid they're in the way. Gotta shoot through them sometimes.
Whose fault is that?
It's Hamas's fault, exactly. That's why we had to kill 20,000 of them on paper. Once again, the official on paper numbers, I'm sure it's much, much, much higher than that. But we have to kill 20,000 children to kill Hamas. It's like, yo, fuck my life. Like, how many Hamas guys have you guys killed? I want to see those numbers. What are the official we've killed Hamas people? What is that?
Well, those are Hamas numbers, so we can't.
It's probably so low in comparison to the civilian death toll, even the official civilian death toll, that it's probably absolutely egregious. And these guys in modern day, Alex included, potentially Nick with these statements he's about to say, somehow ignoring I kid you not, it is a blatant Holocaust. I'm telling you, when you force people into concentrated areas and then shoot them like fish in a barrel when they're trying to get food, and you know they're unarmed, what do we call those? What do we call that? Like, come on. In our modern day, when people would be like, there's no way that would happen in my lifetime, it's happening in your lifetime right now. And these three fucking douchebags just skipping over it. Like it's a sports center fucking topic. Fuck. Oh my god. Here we go.
My view of history is so short. Well, let's talk about some of your history here. You were a big supporter of the war in Iraq, and I want to actually read and go back to what you said about it in 2003 and 2007, because I think this is fair. You said in 2003 that Saddam,
those grandmas and dads and moms that get blown up and killed. No one will know their fucking name.
Danger to world peace and security.
Except for their, they're killing whole families, so maybe no one will remember their name. Fuck them.
The wars is that 50 million
Let's go on Wikipedia and look at Dinesh D'Souza's history on the Iraq fucking war.
Destiny. Liberals emphasize the
yes,
negative.
I'm talking over this fucking
and
idiot.
Relish the failures of American foreign policy.
Christian, huh? He's Christian?
Is he? This speaks to the kind of hubris of the neocons, of the interventionists, of advocates for regime change, which is
fucking dummy. If you fall for this, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry.
Alarmism. They support terrorism. They're building nuclear weapons. Now, both of those things turned out not to be true. There was no connection between Al-Qaeda.
The only thing you haven't realized yet is the war that Nick likes.
Then there's this justification.
Then see what happens.
Well, you know, it doesn't matter.
Wait till you find the war that Nick likes.
Well, 20 years
later, wait a minute, you sound like a neocon now. Like, well,
duh. Iran filled the power vacuum.
You dummies.
Who retook over Afghanistan, the Taliban.
Fuck.
So you know, you can talk about like Germany and Japan. I think those things are fundamentally different. For starters, because Japan attacked us first.
By the way, I said it earlier before, but I'm going to say it again. I remember Nick had a discussion about Israel. Said, I have no problem with what they do foreign policy-wise. They can do, but as long as we're not involved, let them do it on their own. Meaning the massacring of people, he's okay with it. At least in his words out loud. Fuck. Just contend with that while you're cheering him on, please. You don't have to call him a bad guy. You don't have to call him a plant. You don't have to call him a whatever, limited hangout. You don't have to call him any of that shit. Just consider, like, just consider it. And look at it. Like, man, does this guy actually, like, I don't like this stuff because it's, like, wrong. But he doesn't like it because it costs money. Or it risks Americans. American lives are put at risk. Fuck their lives over there. Iran, Israel, Gaza, Hamas, Saudi Arabia, Syria, it doesn't matter. Like, their lives don't matter. It's about America only. Just consider it. And then come back and tell me how Christian he is. Wouldn't last a day in front of that guy, would he? If Jesus floated down, he wouldn't last 5 fucking seconds. He'd be saying, I'm sorry. For 5 years straight. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Instead of saying, finally. Right? Is that supposed to be the words? Finally, dude. Like, you don't see all the massacres happening here? Now you're getting here? Kind of late. He'll be saying, I'm sorry for all the shit I've done. It's about me, man. All right, here we go.
On our soil in Hawaii. I mean, that's fundamentally different. But in terms of regime change, this does harken back to Iraq. And I've seen your videos where you talk about the dissimilarities between the two situations. I think they're very similar. Now, as far as Iran, I don't even want to get into Gaza because that's a little bit, we can later. But I want to talk specifically about Iran. In one of your videos, you say, well, unlike Iraq, where we had to rely on government intelligence.
That's a healthy way to be human, right? Put on your black mask and tie a rope around his neck and kill him. That's how you deal with your problems, duh.
Yo, why is Alex Jones playing
that? Have you figured it out? He's either a devil worshiper or he works for devil worshippers. One or the other. I can't. Like, who knows? Does it really matter for me? Like, it matters, but I'm saying, like, for me, and like, I smell full of shitness. I smell spreading malice across the planet as the end goal, whether he's doing it for someone else or for himself. Probably for someone else, though. Let's be honest. He seems like a coward. The way he moves, like just the way the guy talks and moves, it smells like a fucking coward. Thus, someone scared him into something.
In the deli, so.
Yeah. Stop saying that, by the way.
Very smelly.
Don't say that.
Something wrong with that pastrami.
Okay, that's a pause, and don't say that anymore. But yeah. Alex, yeah, something not right there, bro. Like, damn, maybe Alex should go to the Wailing Wall and put a little secret note in there, like, yo, help.
For real, though. Like,
yo, help me. All right.
Blink twice if you need help.
All right, there we go.
With Iran, we know about their facilities. We know where they are. We've seen the tunnels. We've seen the centrifuges. We know what they're doing. Well, isn't that sort of precisely the point?
Alex,
when the United States made the nuclear deal with Iran, they adhered to it for years. The deal was made in 2015, and from 2015 to 2018, the IAEA said they were in compliance with the deal. They had 24-hour monitoring, they had cameras, they had inspections, and they were in compliance with the deal. It wasn't until a year after Trump pulled out of the deal and forced all the other Europeans to pull out as well. And we reneged on our commitments. We pulled out and didn't give them sanctions relief. We, through secondary sanctions, forced the Europeans to pull out and give them sanctions relief. It was only until 2019 that Iran started to gradually renege on their commitments. And it went in succession where America killed Qasem Soleimani, which is one of their generals. Then Iran began to enrich without limitations. They enriched and they engaged in all nuclear activities without any kind of restrictions. It wasn't until 2021 when Israel attacked Natanz twice, cyber attacks and sabotage attacks, that Iran began to enrich to 60%. Every action has this equal and opposite reaction. Iran was a partner in
That's
2001.
simple.
Iran helped us build the Northern Alliance. They helped us put Karzai in power in Afghanistan. A few months later, George Bush calls them the axis of evil. This is how we treat Iran. Now,
Okay,
I'm not
interrupt you. I'm just looking at the clock. You guys interrupt each other just every few minutes. Maybe I should just go bing, and the other person interrupts. You guys are so polite. Dinesh?
All right. Well, first of all, I want to do a mea culpa here because I was wrong about the Iraq War. Not because I said Iraq had I'm sorry, but Iraq.
That's a nice thing to say after it's all over with. Not all over with, but like it's already too entangled, right? It already happened. It's nice. It's a pleasant thing to say. Thank you, Dave Smith, for apologizing for voting for this motherfucker and campaigning essentially for him. Thank you for apologizing after it's too fucking late. Are you going to vow to never make that mistake again? Of course not, because that's just uses right here telling us about let's go to Iran regime change. Would that be bad?
Well, he went back on Tim Pool's show, Dave Smith, after he said that at Breaking Points and kind of soft pedaled back.
Yeah, because Trump soft pedaled. I was going to say that too. I watch him regret saying that. Like, damn, man, I should have waited.
It was like one of these random shows where he went on Tim Pool's show, like the Timcast show.
Yeah.
And they did like a 40-minute interview or something. And it's like, and he had him on, like, it was a video interview. Even though Tim says he doesn't do that. Make an exception.
God.
Anyway.
All right. Dinesh is sorry for supporting the Iraq War.
We're not
20
worthy.
years after the Iraq War. Okay. All right, here we go.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to do a mea culpa here because I was wrong about the Iraq War. Not because I said Iraq had Iraq War. Not because I said Iraq had nuclear weapons. Of course, you remember with George W. Bush, the claim was that they had these so-called weapons of mass destruction. Not quite the same as nukes, but the idea was it could be chemical weapons. It could be a weapon that could kill a large number of people.
And they send anthrax everywhere.
Now, this information, which was given to us from high levels in the U.S. government, I think was the first case of where we learned that we can't always trust the government. And we can't.
That is not the first case, but
not this time.
But now he's going back to we can trust them.
We got those guys out. We're the good guys now.
Can't trust the government because these intelligence agencies have their own agenda. And this was a neocon scam. And I got to say, I might have been a little too deeply in the neocon world. I went for it. But unlike a lot of the neocons, I broke with them. Most of my former colleagues at AEI won't speak to me. I left the neocon camp, which is now basically the Never Trump camp. And I came into the Trump camp because I think that Trump was based on the idea that, look.
Who are the Never Trump camps? Is it the guys he hired, then fired them?
He's talking like the Bill Kristols, the Bulwark people. What is that guy? The black guy who was the head of the RNC for a while. Michael
Steele.
Michael Steele, yes, Michael Steele. Those people.
The guy looks like a fucking Muppet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, isn't it plausible that those guys are like it almost boosts Trump's credibility because they're like that?
They do boost credibility.
That's literally why. Yeah, it's very strategic, actually, to do that.
And then, but he hires people that agree with the Bush doctrine in regards to dealing with the war on terror.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sean Parnell openly said that on Tim Pool's show, and now he's a fucking foreign policy advisor.
That happened over time, and you had to trust the plan. So you didn't have time to think about those Bush.
Got it. I mean,
and a lot of those Bush era dudes, they kind of embedded themselves in the COVID dissidents. So there's also that branch, and then that's why you have what's his name? Weinstein brother, Brett Weinstein. It was a Brett Weinstein saying like how this whole Israel thing has divided the COVID dissidents and the coalition they'd made with the whole quote unquote scamdemic. That's what they like to call it. Anyway, so it's just rather interesting because you have like Mark Gaffney and all these like literally 1990s Bush and 2000s Bush era like neocons that were trickled through. You have Robert Malone. I mean, it. Yeah. Anyway,
Didn't
RFK is himself.
RFK.
He's the
He makes me want to
godfather.
cry.
didn't the excuse for the Trump administration to kill Soleimani was based off the Bush doctrine, like directly based on it. Like,
Yes.
it was a Dick Cheney thing.
Report.
Yeah, right. It was a Dick Cheney thing. That was said, right? So like,
Yeah.
what?
I
what
have-
are we-
Well,
We've
the Clean
departed from
Break
them.
was made by like the crew. It was the first Bush crew, like Richard Pearl. Was it Frank Gaffney? Those guys, and they did the whole like planning out with Netanyahu, planning out who they were going to hit, like the 7 countries.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
And he hired a bunch of Bush people for his first term, didn't he? I think so.
Yes.
Good
he
Oliver
did.
North.
Oliver North, Elliot Abrams, Gina
Yes,
Haspel, John Bolton, Mike
Oh,
Pompeo, Like these are blatant, like Bush level neocons. Like what the fuck? And it's like, what did he hire his children now for? Like essentially their children, not
Yeah.
direct children, but like ideologically their
intellectual.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hegseth or Parnell,
Rubio.
Rubio. Holy fucking shit.
I mean, Hegseth is literally a joke. Like, I thought that was a fucking joke because he's a Fox host that I was making fun of for this book that he wrote about patriots. I was
And
like,
they
I'm
all-
like, wait, I'm sorry, what?
And it's like a running joke that this guy's drunk on both sides.
This is like a Fox News buffoon that had nothing to do with that was like writing books about how to get recruitments and getting this woke stuff out of the military. And then he becomes the defense secretary? What?
He's hiring. Trump's hiring them to keep them close, so he can keep an eye on them. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's doing. They're trying to make cannibalism legal, and Trump is here to stop it. InfoWars.com. Buy my blue meth.
Yeah.
Buy my iodine drops. All right.
Yeah.
InfoWars
And,
creepy.
the other guy, the guy he made into the Bureau of school, like basically the guy who makes the policies for student visas and stuff, like this Bureau of Cultural and whatever migration, within the Homeland Security within the State Department. It's a gentleman named Darren Beatty, and he's basically like a white nativist. He's part of the same ilk as Jared Taylor. In fact, and
Really?
he's all about and he's all about how American IQ has dropped due to the third world importation and race science. Straight the fuck up. And this is the guy. He's he's the head of the Bureau of Migration and Education, Cultural Exchange or whatever. But they make policies for who gets to be a student here. So. You can look him up, Darren Beatty.
What really breaks my brain is that, you lay out all that shit, right? If you take just kind of like the onlooker, and they're like, wait a minute, I don't like that. I'm going to argue against it. Something tells me their counter arguments would be dog shit and lead to the same problems anyways. That's what it feels like. I'm not even saying left-right politics of the Democratic Party's response, but more of just the average person. It feels like they'll just be equipped with a talking point to be oh yeah, well they're all Nazis or something to where it doesn't actually defeat the intellectually defeat the foe. It just keeps them alive more. It allows them to survive the situation instead of being you were being talked into the fucking dirt. All your ideas are being smushed into the fucking ground. That like doesn't seem to happen. Even with this whole era of debate bro shit, right? It almost feels like they're like almost allowing the other side to survive when it's just.
Well, that's the point. They've picked their opponent.
It's like I'm supposed to bounce between Alex Jones and Rachel Maddow for the rest of my life. Oh, this one looks more right because the other guy's in the office and they get to critique them, and then it
It's the
switches
established
around.
dialectic.
Oh man, someone posted in the chat?
I just put, yeah, it's just this guy, the Darren Beatty guy. Yeah, it's just rather interesting because his PhD thesis is quite the piece of work.
Just putting
he
it on
got his
screen for
PhD.
everyone, and I'll have it linked.
Sure, yeah. So he's the head of the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. So he deals with student.
He looks like a background character for Wild Wild West, starring Will Smith. Like they work for the Loveless guy in the wheelchair. That guy. He looks like one of the guys that work for him.
Movie.
Can I get his picture?
Okay, here.
He looks like a
Let me send you
fucking background
So
character.
let me send you his tweet from 2023.
Oh,
So
fuck.
this is the kind of stuff that he talks about. This is just like a glimpse at this man's ideology. And I'm not saying that it all relies on this tweet, but it's just gives you an idea. I just put it in the chat.
Let me say. By the way, all will be linked in the description box. It's not politically correct to say, but low IQ, Actually, before I read all this, Trump said something today, didn't he? He said something about I have a high IQ or something like that.
Talks a lot about
I have
IQ.
low IQ, some shit like that.
Mhm.
But all right, it's not politically correct to say, but low IQ, low impulse control populations lack higher reasoning and moral faculties. Holy fucking shit! That is actually Jared Taylor. Except
Yeah.
Jared learned to not say moral, because if you say moral, that implies some sort of mysticism or a religion, and you can't have that and have these arguments at the same time. You can't do it.
Yes, you can. Darren is Jewish.
It doesn't.
Right.
He can say that if he wants
Yeah.
to. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you actually like.
No, I understand, but I'm saying he'll use his religion as like a justification for the hierarchy. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't debate bro though, right? He doesn't debate people and all that shit.
No, but his thesis, his dissertation for his PhD referred to Heidegger a lot.
Martin Heidegger. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, go ahead. You finish reading.
Okay. They require strict corporal punishment and threat of violence to function properly within a society. This is dangerous.
Yep.
Instead of tyranny, we need Singapore for the dumb and violent, and Sweden for the more elevated. I'm going to bookmark this one. This is going to be a video on its own. That is fucking dark.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. This is where we're at.
Now,
And this is the
granted,
guy that is in charge of the policy.
yeah. Now, granted, he's saying this without being like, there's no like real allowed pushback, right? That's why like you can't use these things like moral faculty. You can't do those things because it adds mysticism to it, or spirituality, or religion, or something to that. You can't do that. That's why Jared learned to not do that. Like you can't. He's like, all right. If I debate someone, I can't use these arguments as in we are spiritually better, which I've seen people do. I've made videos about that as well. Like there's spiritual archetypes, and I guess the dumber or worse ones go into darker skinned people, and the better souls go into like there's like white souls and there's black souls. And I was like, holy fucking shit! This is.
Yeah. I learned about this guy from a couple of international
Fuck
students
my life.
that I work with who brought up that bureau because I didn't know that it even existed within Homeland Security, but apparently that's where the policies come from for visas and stuff. Like if you're an international student, you have to go through that process or that system. But yeah, that's the head of that. It's like, oh, hey.
That is a video on its own. That is interesting. That's more in my lane of things. Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, What do I say? I'm not surprised, but it's still.
No.
I still emotionally move when I see it every time. It's not surprising. It's just like, come on, man. I still get moved by that. But all right, let's keep playing this. Here we go. I forgot.
We've learned some valuable lessons from the Iraq War, and that is this idea of trying to occupy other countries is a great mistake. By the way, the United States
get
had
in,
every
destroy
right
them, get
to
out.
blow up the Taliban, to chase them out of power. Those were the guys who supplied the monkey bars for 9/11. So if you're talking about a direct attack on the United States, yes, it was Al-Qaeda, but the Taliban was a hospitable regime that trained them. What we should have done is turn to some rival
trained them
tribes,
first, I think,
there are plenty of warlike tribes in Afghanistan, and said, listen, we're going to turn it over to you. You keep kicking their ass from now on, and we're out of here. But we didn't do that. We went over there. We started, conducting meetings and talking about women's rights and a whole bunch of nonsense, and the whole thing backfired on us. So that's a bitter
Bush is
lesson
an SJW.
that we've learned, and I
That's
think
what
I'm
happened.
with you on that, Nick. All right, but Iran is a different.
Oh, you agree, Nick?
And I think this is
Nick. You
this
agree?
Is the key.
Okay.
Iran is the one that is threatening Israel, not the other way around. What does Israel want out of Iran?
Yo, Nick, I don't think he's saying what you were implying right there. So you agree with him? Just cut him off. Just be like, no, I don't agree with that. Like, I agree going into Iraq was bad, but it's bad no matter which way you do. Either you stick around for women's rights or you just want to blow shit up and leave. Either one's bad, but Nick can't go there, can he? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall and let Dinesh D'Souza clean up his own image in front of you. And you let it happen, Nicky boy, sippy cup Nick, the true Christian in the room. Fuck.
Is a different animal, and I think this is the key. Iran is the one that is threatening Israel, not the other way around. What does Israel want out of Iran? You think Israel wants to go occupy Iran? You think Israel has designs on Iran? Israel has one of the smallest, most godforsaken pieces of earth on the planet. They are just trying to hold onto it. And by the way, it's theirs. Now, what do I mean by that? This is a very important issue, because how do you get a country? I mean, how do you get the title deeds of a country? There are really only three ways.
You fight for them.
One way is you're the original inhabitants, right? Like the Native Americans are the original inhabitants, they go, it's ours. That's one way. The second way is there's some sort of a negotiation, a treaty, if someone gives it to you and you get it that way. A third way is conquest. That's how we got large parts of Mexico. That's how the United States now reaches from one end of the ocean to the other. We took a lot of it by force.
As
so
an
that's
American.
the third way. Most of the boundaries of most of the countries of the world are established by war and by nothing else.
First or second generation American.
Interestingly, with America, you could say
Supporting
that on one side,
neocon
the Native
policies.
Americans have the right. They were here first, so they have the title deeds. And then you can say on the other side, well, we conquered them, we fought a war, they lost, that's that, so it's ours. But with Israel, all the arguments benefit Israel. They were the original inhabitants. They were there for 4,000 years, going back to the time of Abraham. Number two, they were awarded Israel by the United Nations in 1948. And number three, they have fought multiple wars, at least three, 1948, 1967, 1973. They beat the combined invading armies of Syria, Jordan, Egypt. So the Arab world
I never
united
lose.
against
Stop
them.
it.
They kicked their butts. And so whether you're looking at
Okay,
who's
Dinesh, that's
the
a
original
long run.
inhabitants
It was fascinating.
or who took it by conquest.
I just looked at the clock, like 5 minutes. So we're running over, Nick. I got to be fair. Nick, you got 5 minutes because I just let him run for 5 minutes. Go ahead. It was great. I was listening. Sorry, I got to go ahead.
Yeah, once
do some
again, it
coke
just
in
gets
that.
back to the analytical framework for the conflict is that these are rational actors, and maybe we'll get into Israel's objectives. Iran wants a nuclear arsenal to deter an attack from the United States and Israel. I think that's a credible fear. The United States' interest is they do not want nuclear proliferation. So we don't want Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. We don't necessarily have an interest
Just go
in
off about the Israel stuff, Nick. You might as well just keep it real then.
Objective is to overthrow the
Your
government
arguments
of Iran.
suck ass.
Why?
Just get to,
It goes
get to
back
the Israel
the
stuff.
Likud party and their takeover of the government in the late 1970s.
Okay.
They witnessed what happened in the Camp David Accords, which is that Egypt got the Sinai back in exchange for peace. They witnessed some of the Israeli ministers try to negotiate with the Palestinians. They called it land for peace. We'll give you some of the West Bank in exchange for peace. We'll give Syria the Golan in exchange for peace was the idea. They thought that's what was going to happen. And these Likudniks, the people that have been running
And
Israel
Ben didn't
basically
like
for
that.
50 years, nearly uninterrupted, they said, we can't keep giving up land in exchange for peace. They said, we need to go on the offensive. This is in Oded Yanon's plan for the 1980s. He was an advisor to Ariel Sharon. This is in the Clean Break Memo in 1996. And in both of these doctrines, and this is consistent throughout 20, 30-year period, they said we need to go on the offensive and we need to basically destroy all the big states that are supporting Palestine, all the big states that might pose a threat to Israel. And that is why they push for regime change against Saddam. That's why they push for destabilization of Syria. And ultimately, they saw Iran as sponsoring Hezbollah and the Shiite groups in southern Lebanon, and then eventually Hamas. And so Israel has an interest in what they call creating statelets. They don't want big, powerful regimes like Nasser's Egypt, like the Assad dynasty in Syria, like Gaddafi in Libya. They want small, manageable fiefdoms where they're going to dismember Libya into like 3 countries, dismember Syria into Druze, Alawite, and Sunni, dismember Iraq into Shiite, Kurdish, and Sunni. They want to do the same thing to Iran. And that is because, and I agree with you, Israel wants to be safe, but you characterize Israel as small and fledgling and just trying to hold on to their land. They're the only nuclear power, the most sophisticated, most powerful military and intelligence operation in the Middle East, as evidenced by this very one-sided
They're not the most powerful
conflict.
military, I can
And
tell
what
you
they
right
want
now.
to be safe is regional hegemony.
They have
in order to
the
be
best
safe
tech,
from all threats, they want to make it so
maybe?
that there are no threats. That's why the road to Israeli safety and their
Well,
right
like,
to
let's be
exist
honest.
runs through regime change, destabilization, and civil war. And so I'm saying, look, that's probably in their best interest, but it's not in ours. It's not
Oh, there it
We
is.
should pursue diplomacy with Iran and try to
There
get them to give up
is.
their nuclear program with limitations and restrictions without regime change, which is unpredictable and has negative effects for us. Israel wants to regime change, and they want us to pick up the pieces and clean up after them, just as we did in all these other countries. And we deal with the terrorism and the hatred, and we deal with the high gas prices and all the rest of it. So that's the America First position. Restrain Israel from pursuing regime change, restrict Iran's nuclear program. You can use maximum pressure and Reagan doctrine to do it. I'm fine with that. But I think diplomacy is preferable, and that's in our interest to try it. That's my position.
Okay.
As you can see, he's as good as the world around him. He's not special. He's not that smart. I guess he can memorize factoids, all right, unless he's on Adderall or something like that. But I don't see anything like, why would I pick either one of these fools to be some sort of thought leader or like, hey, yeah, can
But
you
can't,
come give a
can't
speech?
parrot do all that too?
Yeah, they could. they could repeat words.
He's
Yes.
the bird. Okay.
Yes, they could repeat words.
For the birds. So he's
Well,
for the birds.
Here's the thing, and this is something a problem I had with Crowder. Like obviously people, if you see my content, you know my problems with Crowder. But I mean, like initially, what I had with Crowder, and it was this thing of like Nick doesn't just. He's not just like religious, as in like I practice this religion, I do this thing, I do it, right? Like Dave DeCamp, right? From antiwar.com. That guy just seemingly, from what I've seen of him, he doesn't go out and say every 5 seconds he's a Catholic, right? He just like, oh, I'm not doing videos this weekend. It's Easter Sunday. I'm just gonna, not gonna do videos now, all right? Nick
Yeah,
is
he's
like
not wearing it as a badge.
yeah,
Like,
Nick definitely lets that fly, right? I am
that's
Catholic,
his identity.
and Candace Owens does that and all that shit. And I'm like, well, where does it, like, how does it, you have to think about it psychologically, right? You believe in God, you believe in Jesus and all this stuff, and it's like, how come that is never a portion of your fucking shit? Other than just saying you're Catholic. And I'm sure there's people that's going to go out here and justify that. And be like, well, technically there's borders in Jesus' doctrine. America First is in Jesus' doctrine somewhere. Like, fuck out of here, dude. Fuck out of here. You know that's bullshit. You know that's fucking bullshit. yeah, I'm just going to sit back and watch this kid get massacred. Like, no, he's going to step in front and take the bullet for them, right? That's the Jesus character, right? But where's that shit at for this guy? Does he live like that? Does he live through that? It's the same as Crowder saying, I'm a Christian. But when shit goes down, the Christian hat goes away and the American one hops on my head. Pause. It has to be pushed aside for the sake of this political thing, which is what, to, like, for me at least, like, that's some devil worshiping ass shit, dude. Isn't that supposed to be the basis of your existence? You believe there's a fucking omnipresent fucking being in the universe that's judging right and wrong? Shouldn't that be like the focal point of all of your existence? But yet, I'm saying if someone believes that, shouldn't that be like right there in every moment, every experience, every decision? But instead, they say, I don't watch porn. That's good enough, apparently. That's all you got to do. Just don't watch porn. And then you can get on TV and say, well, if they conquer them over there, that's okay. I have no problems with that. You should have a fucking problem with that. You should. Morally. But instead, as it always does, politics supersedes morality, aka religion. In this guy's case. It's like, how does that happen? Logically. How do you accept that as an audience member? That's what wrecks me. It's like if I debated Nick Fuentes and made the best points of all time, but my words stuttered. I was stuttering or something like that. I'm like, right? Or I missay a word. I think people would be like, yeah, Nick destroyed him. Meanwhile, Nick's points are like garbage in the moral realm. Like, that's where we're at. We are in fucking kindergarten, and people are still failing. That is where we're at. We want our Catholic kid to get on screen and argue about justifications for things instead of the morals. I get it. Religion's not so palatable anymore. I understand that. But if you're a quote-unquote true believer, do you start, like, strategizing with the doctrine of God? Do you start using it strategical instead of like, oh, I believe this. This is morally fucking wrong. My book says so. Do you get even crazier? Do you take the book and say like, oh no, the words actually mean this? Meaning your famous persona thing now gets to redefine what blatant meanings are being like it's blatantly being said to someone. Like, oh, this seems like, oh, like, what does he mean by love your neighbor? The fuck does that mean? What does that mean, actually? Or turn the other cheek or shit like that. What it means is turn the other cheek unless it's a Muslim. Then you can fire back. But come on. Come on, dude. Whatever. That's just, for me, in the ideas I think about, in the world I argue from, it's, sorry to use the religious term here, but it's fucking blasphemous. It really is. I feel like people recognize something that's righteous when they fucking see it. Anyways, fuck. These fucking fake Christians out here, bro. Here we go.
Okay, so I want to go back to Dinesh here.
Full love
we're
shit.
approaching
Full love
15
shit.
minutes of this. This is amazing. You guys stay
Alex
as long as you want.
Alex Jones is the fucking
I'll
Christian.
just say, because I'm not trying to throw this either way. I have complex views.
The greatest threat in the world isn't immorality, it's communism. That's the greatest threat in the world. To life's, greatness. The greatest threat to it is communism, not immorality. Fuck. Someone fell for that. Fuck, we're stupid.
I know it's all nuanced. I think both of you are making great points, and I'm public about that. I want to blow up Israel, and I also, and I don't like the mullahs, but I don't want to, have war with Iran. I know most of people don't even like it.
Wait, what?
My issue, and I think both of you are making great points, and I'm public about that. I want to blow up Israel, and I also.
Huh?
He just.
Maybe he means like metaphorically.
Okay, maybe he means like you blow up a company. Maybe he means that, right? Okay.
Like the government.
Yeah.
Because he's been saying regime change should be in Israel.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to be edgy, like say what the kids are saying. Yeah. Anyway.
All I'll say is be careful, Alex. Someone might take that a certain way, but here we go.
Because I'm not trying to throw this either way. I have complex views. I know it's all nuanced. I think both of you are making great points, and I'm public about that. I want to blow up Israel, and I also, and I don't like the mullahs, but I don't want to, have war with Iran. I know most of people don't even like it. My issue is we saw Netanyahu strike them first and drag us in. And look, I know that they're proxies. Iran's been striking them in Lebanon, and the West Bank, and Gaza, and with the Houthis. And I nobody can say who started it first, okay? And Iran, does make all these statements.
Now they get to make the argument about fucking, is Trump the one dragging them, or are they dragging us? Like, that's the fucking argument. It's so annoying.
And by the way, Israel's not doing that without U.S. saying yes to it, without U.S. supplying them with weapons and bombs and planes and intel. So
yeah, well, that's what D'Souza is going to say. Like, what are you talking about? Trump's calling the fucking shots.
Yeah.
He's daddy. Not Netanyahu.
When Trump says stop, everyone stops.
Okay? Anyway.
God.
Trump's the ass. Let them cook.
Trump is the real Ayatollah. All right. There we go.
Rhetorical. We're going to drive you in the ocean and blow you up and all the rest of it. Okay, so my larger, sure, Dinesh, I'm gonna go to you. I've been pretty good here. I just want to
see. He's like,
It's coming up here very soon for both of you, and then we're gonna go to questions. But honing in, because both of you guys are very smart, and I'd like to hear not really debate, but also a discussion. What do you think's about to happen? I know, Dinesh, you have amazing context. Trump today says twice at Alligator Alcatraz that, we got to do Monday.
My God.
You're going to love it. This
fucking guy cried about FEMA camps. Now he's like, Trump, we're outside of the building of a new facility that puts people in cages. He's like, skips over that shit. Skips over it. Like, it's just cartoonish, surround them with alligators and cages and shit like that. Like, come on, dude.
It's so creepy to do, especially like when you know that they used to like use, slaves as bait for that kind of shit, especially by the bayou down there. Like, there's art about it. Like, it's weird. Why are you evoking that? Why? That's so weird.
Don't worry.
It's like, it's on purpose. I know it's on purpose. It's supposed to get people triggered. Like, oh my God, look what they're trying to evoke, this like horrible memory. And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just, come on, especially in this country. Like, come on. They know what they're doing. So gross. And it was the Homeland Security Twitter that posted that with the alligators with the ice hats.
Oh my God.
Yeah, saying coming to the border soon or something. Seriously?
Don't worry, Jesus is okay with rounding people up and putting them in cages. Anyways, let's continue. He supports borders. Anyways, here we go.
Guarded by alligators.
Alligator Alcatraz that, we got a deal Monday. You're going to love it. And Netanyahu's coming and all this. And usually Trump doesn't just bluff. That sounds really good. Then you have the mullahs putting out a very rare fatwa against Trump and Netanyahu on Sunday. So just in general, looking at that. But I will just say, Israel initiating the latest round and us coming into it a week into it, and then all of that, and then I could predict the media was going to say he didn't take out the sites. Clearly the sites were highly damaged or obliterated, but then did they?
He literally repeats what the guy says. That's the actual word, obliterated was the word Trump kept using in regards to the Iran. Like, clearly, they keep saying it wasn't destroyed, but it was absolutely destroyed. Trust me. You could see pictures.
Those bunker busters, yeah.
This fucking guy.
They penetrated deep and they blew up. It's like, okay.
It's so stupid.
Can you stop repeating that? Like.
And then someone asks, like, hey, what if they moved the enriched uranium listen, you are always asking these questions like this, lady. Stop asking shit like that. And it just doesn't answer the question. Like, oh well, we'll find out soon. That is what Hexeth was saying during that press conference. Someone else asked it again. He said, "Well, we'll try to find out." And now they have
child
9/11 King Dingaling Alex Jones up here telling us trust what the government is saying to you. Trust them. The 9/11 guy's doing that.
entertaining.
Flanked by fucking. I'm wrecked, dude. Here we go.
To it, a week into it, and then all of that, and then I could predict the media was going to say didn't take out the sites. Clearly, the sites were
Does he wax his head every day?
highly damaged or obliterated. But then, did they hide fissile material?
Satan
Then
licks
the
his
mullahs
fucking
we're going to go
scalp
all the
every
way
night.
to enrichment, and we did hide it.
Before he goes to bed.
Cinders it off.
It's like to get out of this, the mullahs seem to do whatever it is keeps it going. It's very bizarre. So it's easy for me on like straight Western politics to know who the sides
like,
are.
I got to
what
get
the
to my
interests
talking
are.
points.
When you
Hurry
get into
up.
these mullahs and things, it is gives me a headache basically. So I mean, as a moderator, I'm supposed to just have easy answers here. A lot of bizarre behavior. Why would the mullahs put a photo out? Well, because maybe they're about to fall. As we're seeing some evidence. Their foreign minister on TV contradicting them, saying the nuclear sites were basically destroyed. So the intel I'm getting is they could fall. What happens if the mullahs?
He didn't say that, but
then?
Alex doesn't care.
You see, this just is a complex issue. So you guys can finish up with your round of debates about the history and who's who or whatever. My point is these are two sides absolutely diametrically opposed to each other. And like Trump said, both sides don't know what the fuck they're doing. They've been fighting so long.
Oh,
I agree with that.
please.
How could
Is Trump like directly writing your script? Or sorry. Whoever writes for Trump are they writing Alex's script too or something?
Absolutely.
Like it's repeating the same phrases.
Fuck yeah.
Like,
They
come
all
on.
say the same things. Recently, you know what they've been saying? Oh, whenever Trump will say something like crazy, they'll be like, inject it straight into my veins. I saw all of these MAGA idiots like starting their posts with that.
This is what I voted for.
I'm just like, yes, yeah, exactly. That's another one. But I just recently said, inject it straight into my veins. Like, shut the fuck up. So annoying. Oh. Anyway, like I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene with that.
Yeah.
Johnson, all the
Oh my god.
The pundits, the punditry.
Audience, people who are watching this video, to understand how we feel, imagine it. Like, okay, take the context of Alex Jones, right? The 9/11 stuff, the conspiracies, all that stuff, and then imagine him getting on TV. Well, mission accomplished. Talking about like Iraq in 2003. Like it's the same thing. I know Trump looks different, talks a little bit differently, policy not so different, but I understand like the aesthetics changed around, but he's doing a Bush-like doctrine. His own advisors, when they weren't in office, were talking about Bush-like doctrines as like, that's why Trump is winning. They were saying these things. And then you get Alex Jones to go on his own program and say, mission accomplished. It's like, come on, dude. There's no way you fall for that. All right. There we go.
Gut level, where do both of you see this going? We'll go to Dinesh first and finish up with Nick.
Trump hates Netanyahu.
But then where do you see this going next?
It's not that long ago he said that.
De-escalated.
It's like weeks ago.
What the fuck they're doing?
Dinesh D'Souza.
Yeah, the reason I keep
They'll use that
anchoring
forever.
our discussion, not just in history, but kind of in the facts on the ground, is because it's hard to have a debate when the facts are really fuzzy, right? So you mentioned, Alex, that Netanyahu struck first. But if it is true that Iran was a driving force behind October 7th, then Israel did not strike first. Israel struck second. Second of all, let's remember a lot of times. I mean, if we go back in history, not very far, Hitler attacks Poland and Great Britain.
Just fuzzy
Great
facts.
Britain declares war on Germany. Japan attacks the United States at Pearl Harbor. Did we just go to war with Japan? No, we didn't. We sent Patton starts taking U.S. troops into Europe. We went after the Nazis, even though the Nazis did not attack us directly. It was the Japanese who did. All right, let me turn to Nick. Nick says that it's the goal of Israel to somehow topple all the big, strong powers in the Middle East. And let's test if that's true. Which are the big, strong powers in the Middle East? And the answer is...
So it is like Nick saying Israel wants to topple all the powers in the Middle East. D'Souza saying, no, it's the U.S. that wants to topple all the powers in the Middle East.
Yeah, that's the argument.
And we get nowhere as a viewer. Like, Well, you know, he's empathetic people get nowhere in regards to this discussion. We go nowhere.
Because that's the framing.
Fuck my
The
life.
limited fucking parameters that this is the sandbox you're allowed to play in, and you better not leave.
I mean,
So sit in your sandbox.
that is essentially predictable, but at the same time, I want it on fucking record. Granted, not that many people are going to see our interpretation of things or our view of things, at least on this fucking YouTube channel. But at the same time, it's like, I want it on record. I do. I want it to be fucking known. Someone might hear it. Because this is egregious. And people don't question that enough. They just want to see, I guess, the blood sport of it, I guess, or the debate thing of it.
Well, they want to remain on the team, I guess. The
Maybe.
community.
Yeah. They want to high five Johnny in the chat when they go watch Nick's
Yeah.
stream or Dinesh's stream or Alex's
Yeah,
stream.
the gripers.
The Grippers. Embarrassing. What a fucking name. It's embarrassing. Come on, guys. There's nothing
Gripers.
clever about it, nothing cool sounding about it.
Goon Squad.
And you're led by Sippy Cup Nick. I'm wrecked. There we go.
It's like Fuentes and his digital warriors. Go ahead.
Yeah. Love that.
Certainly in the Muslim world, there are three. There is Saudi Arabia, there is Egypt, and there is Iran. These are the three big boys of the Middle East, and they are jostling, by the way, for power, the one against the other. Israel has excellent relations with two out of the three. Now, the only reason Israel doesn't have excellent relations with Iran is Iran continues to not only plot and scheme, but openly declare and fund military forces, Hezbollah, also Hamas, that are aimed ultimately at eradicating Israel from the map. That's the meaning of from the river to the sea. So, Israel is willing to get along with
What's your
powerful
counter-talking
forces
point,
in
Nick?
the region. It's made friends with some of them. It gave back land to Egypt. It's on good terms with Saudi Arabia. I think it would be on good terms with Iran
What are you
if
showing,
Iran
Alex?
wasn't driving
What are
the
you doing,
aggression
Alex?
from its side. So I completely
What
reject Nick's idea
the
that somehow
fuck?
Iran is fighting a defensive
What are you
war.
showing, Alex?
Nobody wants to invade Iran.
What was that, too?
Least of all Israel. Israel would like to have nothing to do with Iran. They've got a successful society on their own. Now, you're asking about Trump. And
I've always
where
understood it
all
for-
this is
FW.
going. And I think I want to highlight the simple point that, look, Trump is actually a kind of master of this kind of...
Don't mind people
well,
doing
I'm
that
gonna call it
for
mafia
more,
diplomacy.
morally, like,
By
yeah,
that I mean
look
that
at the
he
destruction.
acts like Don Corleone. He twists people's
Alex is
arms.
like-
He basically tries to pull
It is B-roll,
everybody into
isn't it?
line.
It's fucking
And so
B-roll
this
for
idea,
his-
I think so.
Number one, when Trump basically even
What's the
started
context of what
talking
he
about
did?
the idea of striking the Iranian
Fucking
facilities, there was a massive scream on the part
Entertainment.
of the,
It's
let's
just
call it the
footage.
Nick
Just
Fuentes
footage.
camp, but
Morbid
there were many others in
entertainment.
it. This
Here's
is
moving
disastrous.
objects while he
We're gonna
talks in
be
the
in a
background.
war.
Yeah.
We're going to have tremendous
like-
casualties. The Iranians are going to strike back at us. Just wait for it. None of this actually happened. So if I'm going to show a little modesty about Iraq, it would be good for Nick to admit
It's gonna be
that
Alex
he and
saying,
so
"I
many
was secretly
others were
debating
completely
Dinesh
wrong
D'Souza.
about
See,
what
like,
the
I was
effect
playing,
of
like,
Trump strikes were going to
footage
be.
of the destruction.
Number two,
I was secretly
Israel
debating
is a
him.
country of 10 million people or 12 million people.
Netanyahu is dragging us
The
into a
United
war.
States is 350 million plus.
Yeah.
Are you seriously telling me that Israel is controlling the
All right,
controlling
Nick, now
American
tell him about
security?
the amount of times Netanyahu has
Then we're gonna
visited
go to
Congress to
break
tell
and
us to
come
get
back.
into
I've got
wars.
questions, and then listeners have questions
Counterclaim.
from X. Nick, responding to that.
Sure. So to address the first point, Saudi
perfect.
Arabia is not a major power in the Middle East. We give them a lot of weapons and things like that, but Saudi Arabia has a small population, mostly foreign workers. It's held together by this weird dynasty from 100 years ago because they sell oil. They couldn't even defeat the Houthis in Yemen. I mean, they were at war with the Houthis for 10 years with American backing.
Neither did
they said they were
America.
fighting Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. They couldn't beat back these guys. They're pirates, effectively. So Saudi Arabia is not a major power. And what's more is they're effectively in a relationship.
You earlier just said that they spread,
Wahhabi.
Wahhabi, Salafist, Islam all over the fucking place. That has definitely reshaped the Middle East. Those things, in tandem with other things. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, then they definitely have power to do things. But area.
With Israel already.
I mean, they
like
also
the
have
Emirates, like Bahrain,
Mecca.
are going.
That's
Yeah.
the pilgrimage for all Muslims.
Shows the Saudi
Mecca.
ball grab.
It's literally like it's the Muslim holy land. That's
Yeah.
like where everyone goes for Hajj. including my entire family. So it's like,
Yeah.
so there is that, like, yeah. Anyway, and it's a lot more open now to tourism, and I wouldn't say that. I mean, they're definitely, if not just as close, almost as close as Israel and the U.S. are in
Yeah.
terms of partnership.
Yeah.
So,
Fun fact: I always
yeah.
thought that was in. I always thought Mecca was in Palestine for like years.
oh yeah, no,
I had
it's
no
in
idea.
Saudi. Mm-hmm.
All I know is the
It's
scene
in
from.
Saudi because you go from Medina to Mecca
Okay.
for the Hajj. Yeah.
All I knew was the scene from Malcolm X, the movie, where he goes to Mecca and he's like, "Wait a minute, there's all different color people all over here. Like no one cares about
Oh, yeah.
race."
A lot of like Southeast Asians. I mean, from all Muslims from all corners of the world go
Yeah.
to Mecca. It's like a thing.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Here's
It's
Trump.
like the Wailing Wall.
Yeah. Sure. All right. Here's Trump ball grabbing.
To enter into the Abraham Accords. They're submitted to Israel. And that's the fate. If you are against the West, if you're against Israel and the United
Put their
States,
hands over
you
the
get overthrown. You get
Yo,
So creepy.
Alex, Mr. Conspiracy Guy. You see like a bunch of these leaders like putting their hands like, yeah, our hands are on the world type of thing. It's like it's made for Alex to cry about, right? He's just like,
Yep.
Trump's
The
a
optics
good
alone.
Trump's a good guy. He's a good controller of the world. He's a good globalist. It's like, come on, dude. He's
fought the bad
trolling us.
guys.
This might be Alex's actual like signal, like his signal, like, yo, help. It's his call for help. It's like, yo, help. I know what's going on. Just help me out. I'm held hostage.
He's sending like his messages through the B-roll. Hilarious, actually.
All right, here we go.
regime changed, you get invaded, civil war, or you're like
Look
Egypt
at
and
this
Jordan,
fucking
where you
weirdo.
get bribed and become a Western puppet
Who
to
fell
Israel.
for that? Look at
and
this
Saudi
guy.
Arabia
Look who
wants
fell
to
for
follow
that.
The guy
suit.
from Egypt.
So I would just say
Saudi-
that, and that's
the guy
obviously
from
the case
UAE.
also because
Yeah.
Netanyahu and
Qatar.
other ministers in the Israeli government have said for 30 years they want regime change in Iran. That's just not even disputed. In the mid-1990s, they're calling for regime change. In 2006, Netanyahu's calling for regime change. They're publishing videos all the time in Farsi and English saying the Iranian people need to rise up. It's just not even a question that they do want that. And they want that because Iran is a
There might be
rival.
some actual
Iran
Iranians from
has
here
one of the largest populations.
might be
It's
saying
often
that as
said about
well.
the Middle
Yeah.
East, you've got three
they know how it
countries,
is.
Turkey, Egypt, Iran. The rest are tribes of flags.
Also,
Iran
the
has a
U.S.
big middle
is
class, big economy,
heavily
oil wealth. They have a lot of intelligent people.
favoring
They're a
regime
threat to
change
Israel's security
in
and
Iran,
hegemony
too.
in the
So-
region. And that's why Israel wants to depose that country along with
Well,
all the
they're
other
only
ones
doing
with
that
ambition,
on behalf
whether
of
they be
Israel.
Islamist or
Like,
pan-Islamist.
no, you
With
fucking
regard
idiot.
to Israel, and we can maybe get into this topic
As
because
far
I
as
think
I've
we've
seen,
sort of
that's
settled a
fuck-
lot
that's
of
a
this other stuff. We're
terrible
looping a
assessment.
bit. But to get to the question of Israel driving U.S. foreign policy, it's pretty clear. You know, Trump initiated diplomacy
Yeah,
with
here it
Iran
is.
in April. He had Netanyahu at the White House for talks about the tariffs, and he announced
In this April? You mean like after he pulled out of the deal, after he assassinated Soleimani, after he funded groups here and there to fight their groups, or armed people to fight their groups? Like,
He's also going to have him there on Monday. This Monday.
Netanyahu? Yeah.
He'll be there at the White House this Monday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I don't understand.
Because all
that.
they're friends. They probably play golf together. Like at Mar-a-Lago hanging out.
Yeah, that actually, I almost guarantee they do that. It's like a guarantee. But like, where's Nick? It's just Israel? Seriously? It's up because of them. That's why America does what it does in the Middle East. Like, come on. That sounds
But
like, come on.
this feeds the narrative where this is like the reason why the ADL can exist, because then they can be like, oh look, it's the Jews or the Jays or whatever. You know, people are noticing, like that kind of thing. It's like it drives that narrative. And it's like, do you work for the ADL because you give them a reason to exist?
Actually, yeah. And that was they were saying that about Crowder because he was like, you know what? I don't like AIPAC. Not because of their over support for Israel, but because they fund Democrats too. That was his main problem with AIPAC, is that they were funding Democrats and Republicans. Like, if they only funded Republicans, he'd be like, I love the ADL. But because they fund Democrats. But he was doing that because he sees the wheels spinning in society. Like, oh my God, this narrative is now very popular to say or to look at or examine.
Turning.
Yes, and people were like, oh my God, Crowder's bracket, noticing. Bracket, noticing. Like, Crowder's noticing everything. Like, he sees it. And it's like, you fucking idiots. You dummies. You fucking dummies. How come they always get the biggest fucking... Like, how do they... Where do they
Because
come
that's what they
from?
want. It's the easiest fucking thing to just knock down and just like it because it's stupid. It's actually dumb.
I'm like, are you
And it's
motherfuckers
easy.
made in labs somewhere? Like, where do you come from? I don't get that. That makes sense. Like, just it's a simple ass shit you can just attach to, no effort needed. Just say hi to Johnny in the chat, and boom, you're in.
Yeah, you can set it up so you can
Man.
win every time. Because it sounds so crazy. It's like, oh, these people must be the logical ones. It's like, no, like, it's fucking insane. Anyway.
That's why I make the joke about like Jesus floating down so often. That's why I make that statement, because if it's like, yeah, every decision you make is like important, and God is balancing your decisions like on a scale somewhere, like make believe saying, it's like, wait a minute, everything I do, every decision I make, every thought I have is all very, very much important. Like, fuck. It's like instant world changing instantly. Nick is like, damn, do I make a live stream today? Do I go on? I can't go on air right now. I can't do that. Maybe if I praise him, he'll let me go. Jesus is the best guy ever. He's the best guy ever. I love him. I want him on as a guest. Come on in, Jesus. He's like, Nick, I've seen this, what you've said here, what you've said here, what you've said here. Over here, you said this. And they, oh, wait, okay. Kill the feed. It's like, he'll retire that day. He'll be done that day. Alex will be done that day. D'Souza would be done that day. I'm telling you, that would be the psychological, like, mind fuck of all time. But let's be real, unrealistic. Let's just be honest. It's very unrealistic. I'm just saying, like, theoretically. But anyways, all right, here we go. Sorry.
Announced that he was going to engage Iran in negotiations over the nuclear program. That same day, Netanyahu went on TV and said the only deal we will accept is if we get to blow up Iran's nuclear program and if they follow the Libya model. The Libya model is where Libya gave up their nukes with inspections.
Can I code my name on this?
Changed them 8 years later. And that was obviously a poison pill to blow up the talks. They've said repeatedly, just last week, the defense minister came out and said, we are pursuing decapitation of the supreme leader.
Nick for 1 second,
did you get permission from the United States? He said, we don't need permission on such matters. And I believe, of course, you absolutely do. I wish it was as you're describing, where we are in control of Israel and they're our client. This has never been the case.
That's not good either.
Force behind the road to the war in
That's
Iraq.
not good.
Driving force behind the road to the war in Iran.
Dialectic.
And the question of, and this is the last thing, just briefly, was I wrong about the strikes in Iran? We're not in a war in Iran. Of course we're in a war in Iran. Trump killed Soleimani in 2020. He comes back into office and picks up where he left off. Israel attacks Iran, and then we bomb Fordo. And this is going to be the case in the future. Iran says they're not giving up enrichment. The United States says you have to have 0% enrichment. It's setting the stage for more strikes. We've been in a state of hostilities.
Yo, soy, Nick Fuentes.
We're going to take a break here. I'm going to ask both of you during the break, or the producer is, how long you want to stay?
I'm damn near done. I'll let maybe a little bit fly by, but I suspect, I think we got to where these guys are at. No matter which,
they're leaving this loop. This is like this is the script.
No matter which way you slice it, I think you end up in some sort of conflict with someone, with all three of these individuals. No matter which way you look at it, if you're coming from my perspective, where it's like, yeah, I can see that. This is it's just like someone getting in a fist fight, right? If they get in a fist fight in the street, like, okay, this is going to end bad. Doesn't matter like who wins, if the first guy started it or the last guy started it, whatever the scenario is, or the friend jumps in and beats up the guy to protect his other friend or whatever. It comes off as like, this is not good. This is not a good idea. And something tells me that these three individuals will not have anything near where I'm thinking at. It just like, meaning in this discussion, or if anyone's fanboying for any of these three people, I'm not going to be allowed to be there. I'll try to be there. I'll say my points. I'll watch their content. I'll say their ideas out loud. I'll try to argue against it, or maybe they say something I like. You know, caveat with caveats. But at the same time, it's just like there's just in these three guys' world, there's no room for me. It's just not there. And granted, no one has to believe what I'm saying or run in my direction. It's just, I mean, like an ounce, a tiny little bit of morality thrown in here, guys. Just a little bit. I don't see it. All I see is, at most, Dinesh D'Souza, like, implying that they're making moral decisions with the neocon strategy of dealing with the Middle East is moral because these guys are so immoral. Because they're so extremist, Islam, Sharia law loving motherfuckers that we should regime change them to make the world better because Sharia law is so bad. But then again, you have people who don't believe in that, allegedly, or don't say they like that, apparently, and yet the things we call not good, they do. If it's, ISIS in the Middle East or in Syria or something like that, where they're killing innocent people, like, yeah, that happens. Then you have the U.S. government that kills probably more innocent people in the Middle East and around the world. But one's justified by people like D'Souza and Fuentes and Jones, and the other is a problem that needs to be dealt with. And they're just arguing, like, how do we deal with this problem that's there? One's saying, let's get out of here and let them deal with their own problems. Let them fuck each other up, which I think is Fuentes, right? D'Souza's saying, like, no, it's a threat to America too. So we need to go in there and stop it.
Because America's the one calling the shots. Like, Trump is the daddy, so don't forget it.
And actually, even more so than D'Souza, I think Alex Jones is actually saying, like, yeah, Trump's daddy. Trump is actually daddy, and whatever he does is good. Words. It's like a child with their parent, right? Where it's like, whatever my dad did or my mom did is good. Or
the other daddy.
A dommy daddy. Alex Jones's dommy daddy is Donald Trump, apparently. But either way, I think if you spent a modicum of time on these topics, I think you could see that these three are not maybe the people to argue this, right? Arguing to not fight wars on behalf of, quote unquote, on behalf of Israel or in tandem with Israel is not good enough. Sorry, Nicky. Sorry, Sippy Cup Nick. It's not good enough. Sorry. Because, I mean, not that I think it'll happen, but it could be possible that someday someone gets into office like, Israel has been the problem the whole time. We need to regime change them, like Alex Jones has actually said before out loud. And I'm sure Nick Fuentes would be like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Celebrated.
Exactly.
Celebrate.
Exactly. So
like the edgy thing to say. Like, oh, look, Alex is noticing.
And it's like, what does that mean? Nothing good. I can tell you that right now. Well, at least for me. But, if you're just doing the political game, you're not maintaining your morals. If you have them in the first place, sure. Netanyahu is the big evil of the world. Let's get him out of there. Okay, you get him out of there. Evils in the world still happen. Oh, look at that. We didn't fix anything. But, not surprised. All right, I'm going to end it here.
Do you want, like, Kamala Harris? Is that what?
Well, that's what
that would have to be the response, right?
Yeah, that's what would happen. And I had people very early on saying, like, well, like, this is why Kamala was the lesser evil. That's why we should have voted for her. I'm like, oh my God. And then news comes out of the Biden administration saying, like, yeah, we didn't stop Netanyahu. In fact, we helped him out. So, like, in regards to Gaza, I'm saying.
When Kamala was running, she said Iran was the biggest existential threat to the United States. So I don't really understand how it would be that different.
I did not
Just
hear
saying.
that. That's interesting.
As she was running, they asked her, like, oh, what's the biggest threat to the United States, foreign policy wise? It's like, Iran is the biggest existential threat that we have. Like, sponsor of terrorism, like the works. So, like, what are you talking about?
I mean, without that, I was already saying that based on U.S. foreign policy and their statements. But that thing right there, I'm going to go look for that.
Yeah, it was on 60 Minutes. It was one of those. It was like as she was running, like in September.
Yeah. That is a video on its own, straight up.
Yep.
For people that think voting Kamala would have saved the world.
Yeah, no.
Oh my god,
I don't think
bro.
so.
Weird. These are. Come on, guys. But all right, I'm gonna end the video here. Please subscribe if you like. Comment, agree, disagree. Tell me what you think. There's a lot here. There's like a 3-hour video, but I think people like the 3-hour videos for some reason. I don't know, whatever, or the long form videos. Tell me what you think. I don't think this debate goes anywhere crazy from here. Maybe someone gets owned later, but what the fuck does that mean to me in regards to trying to make the world a better place? It's just like maybe an embarrassing moment for one of these fucking assholes. But that's it. But yeah, you can make your arguments in the comments section. Tell me what you think. And anyone who says like, well, Nick's like this or Nick's like that, I'm telling you right now, someone in 2007 or 2006 or 2007 was saying the same things about Rachel fucking Maddow. I know you might not believe that, but that's what fucking happened. You want to know why? Because she was railing against the wars in Iraq. Like, yo, what are we doing in Iraq? No weapons of mass destruction. What are we doing there? Making similar fucking arguments. Not about full-blown anti-war. No, we're not doing that. Or morality as like, yo, this is wrong. We can't be doing this. It was in the sense of like, that guy's stupid. The president, right? George W. Bush. Like, oh, he's dumb. And he's kind of like, he wants to do like dumb wars. And then Obama comes in. Obama did smart wars.
These stupid wars. These stupid, costly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I kid you not, go look back at it. Keith Olbermann, Rachel Maddow, they were doing those things back then. So anyone coming to me about Nick Fuentes, where he doesn't like showcase that like, okay, I have a higher moral standard which cannot be fucked with by laws, rules, politics, any of that shit. If I don't see that, it's like, dude, fuck off for me. Fuck off. But, you know, you may like them. Make your arguments in the comment section. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Check them out, read them, share them, then donate. All of it is appreciated. And with all that said, please, obviously, give this video a thumbs down.
Say you wanna get in.